Chapter 334. With a snap of his fingers, the entire world seemed to have quietened down. What biting cold killing intent, what surging spiritual energy, all of it disappeared completely. Only the two of them were left in the air. Chinya said faintly, "Don't wake Ali up." Chu Bai, who was at the back, had his mouth wide open. At least 20 ham sausages could be inserted into his mouth. With just a snap of his fingers, he was able to take care of the son of an aristocratic family and the sage doctor. If that is the case just now, I have lost face. No. If this beauty was already so powerful, then wouldn't her husband be even more abnormal? Oh my God. Oh my God. Qin Yutong, who was at the side, heaved a sigh of relief. Big sister is starting to act cool again. She really doesn't give me even the slightest bit of chance. In the future, I won't play with big sister anymore. Moreover, big sister even imitated brother-in-law by snapping her fingers. It's amazing to have the power of a bloodline. When brother-in-law is in a good mood, I'll ask brother-in-law to help me obtain a bloodline. Fortunately, the seal on the ring on Chinya's finger was not removed. Otherwise, with the snap of her finger, it would have been even more terrifying. At this moment, Yi Tai and Song Huang could no longer remain calm. The other party had merely snapped his fingers, and their spiritual energy had instantly dissipated. This was impossible. Who exactly are you? Yi Tai asked in a low voice. He no longer had the calmness from before, and was now in a state of panic. Chinya said faintly, "I'm just an ordinary woman, that's all. I'm just beautiful, rich, and have an adorable husband." Qin Yutong covered her ears. "I'm not listening. I'm not listening. Big sister is too good at acting cool." Even Chu Bai thought so. Back then, Chinya was such a pure and innocent girl. Ever since she got screwed by Yi Hua, she gradually became depraved and started to like to act cool. Yi Tai and Song Huang struggled with all their might, but it was useless. "Do you know who I am? If you dare touch me, you'll be finished." Yi Tai had a look of panic on his face. This woman was so terrifying. He had been in the profession for more than 20 years, and today he had finally stepped on a nail. Chinya waved her hand, and a piece of leaf slowly floated up. "I know, you are the son of an aristocratic family, and he is a sage doctor. Since you know, why aren't you letting me go?" Chinya shouted coldly. "You actually dared to insult my husband just now. You can't avoid death, but you can't escape punishment. You." Yi Tai stared at Chinya, completely losing the arrogance he had just now. The leaves emitted a green light and instantly attacked the two of them. The green light turned into a flowing shadow and danced in the pitch-black night sky. Shwa shwa shwa. At this moment, the leaves were like sharp blades, cutting open wounds on their bodies. Aw! The blood-curdling screams were deafening, and the bone-deep wounds made one's hair stand on end. "Chinya! Stop! I just saved your grandma." Song Huang endured the pain and shouted out. The leaves stopped falling. There was not a single layer of stain on them, which showed how fast they were moving. "Heroine, I won't do it again. I won't dare to do it again. Please spare my life." Yi Tai admitted defeat. This kind of torture was too painful. He might as well give himself a quick death. Chu Bai also whispered, "Miss Qing, killing Yi Tai will be troublesome." Chinya slightly wrinkled her brows. "My parents are still in the north, and in the end, I am following Yi Hua, so I can't stay by their side for a long time. If I were to kill this person, it would be very troublesome for Yi family to investigate this matter. Unless I exterminate Yi family." He couldn't be exterminated. The Yi family only had this scum, so the family shouldn't be implicated. Right now, Chinya was affected by Nuwa's bloodline and couldn't bear to be ruthless. Looking at Yi Tai, Chinya said faintly, "If you still dare to forcefully kidnap women in the future, I will definitely not let you off easily. Heroine, be at ease, I won't dare to do bad things anymore." Right now, other than begging for mercy, Yi Tai would agree to any condition. Chinya's beautiful eyes looked toward Song Huang. This was a death stare that came from Chinya. Song Huang's heart trembled, and he didn't dare to raise his head. Let's go home." Chinya let out a breath. "This is the only way." Qin Yutong cried out in surprise. "Big sister, you are letting them go just like that?" "They are going to." "All right, Yutong, let's go home." Chinya said tenderly. then patted onto her little sister's shoulder, then sat on the car. Qing Yutong looked towards the two people in the sky. This is also big sister's benevolence. If it was me, I would definitely cut the two of you into 100 pieces today. Chu Bai continued to be the driver and returned home. However, his heart was unable to calm down for a long time. The two women behind me are too scary to the point that it makes one's hair stand on end. Yi Tai and Song Huang were still hanging in the sky like kites. After quite a while, Yi Tai and Song Huang fell heavily onto the ground. Looking at the wounds on Yi Tai and Song Huang's body, although they were all superficial wounds, they still couldn't stop complaining. Song Huang, how dare you? You actually dared to trick me. Yi Tai shouted out angrily towards Song Huang. Originally, he was having fun playing with women, and suddenly he received a phone call saying that there were high-quality women. That's right. High-quality women. High to the point that I can't afford to mess with them. Song Huang didn't expect that these two women had hidden themselves so deeply. Yi Tai, how would I know that they have this kind of strength? Damn it, I have been tricked so badly by you. I didn't manage to get a woman, I even got injured, and my reputation has also been ruined. Yi Tai fiercely punched Song Huang. My spirit stones? Song Huang asked probingly. Yi Tai looked at Song Huang and laughed out. With such a pig-like teammate like you still dare to ask me for spirit stones. Do you still have any face left? Yi Tai, you are the one who is useless, and you can't blame me for not being able to get a woman? Don't you know that I also took a risk with you? You took a risk. I was having fun playing with women, and if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have ended up like this. When that Chu Bai said that, where should I put my face? The more Yi Tai spoke, the angrier he got. Yi Tai, who had his spirit energy dissipated, actually punched towards Song Huang's face. Song Huang dodged the punch and said coldly, Yi Tai, I can forget about the 100 spirit stones, but you have to give me those 50 spirit stones. Consider it as compensation for mental damage. 50 spirit stones? I won't give you even a single spirit stone. After speaking, the two of them had a feeling that they were ready to fight. After quite a while, the two of them didn't seem to be fighting. It was a bit awkward. Because both of them had injuries on their bodies, it was too painful. Just who is this woman's man? Yi Tai couldn't hold on anymore, and sat on the ground. The spirit energy within his body was slowly recovering. Song Huang was the same as well. He said, I don't know, but he seems to be someone important. Then how did you know about them? I was treating my illness at their house today, so I brought them out to play. I didn't expect that I would be tricked by them for spirit stones. Yi Tai sneered. You were tricked by them, and now you are here to trick me. Well done, Song Huang, I will remember you. You don't have the ability, and yet you blame others. You have the ability? Didn't you still end up being played by those two women? After speaking, the two of them started cursing at each other again. As they cursed at each other, their wounds were affected, and it was so painful that tears started flowing out of their eyes. This time, the two of them didn't speak anymore, and focused on recovering their spirit energy. After all, right now, whoever recovered their spirit energy first would have the upper hand. A light breeze blew past, and Song Huang, who was sitting cross-legged, wrinkled his brows. Why is there a smell of smoke in the air? Yi Tai, are you smoking? Song Huang asked coldly. Yi Tai shouted out coldly, smoke your sister, do you think I have the mood to smoke? Then why is there a smell of smoke in the air? Song Huang asked confusedly. Yi Tai sniffed, and he seems to have indeed smelled a smell of smoke. Where did this smell of smoke come from? The two of them looked around, and suddenly, their attention was attracted by a red dot. That red dot should be a cigarette butt. There is actually someone smoking in that forest. Chapter 335. Yi Tai and Song Huang's expressions tensed up, and they slowly stood up. Yi Tai looked at the black shadow and shouted, Who is playing tricks over there? Get out here right now. Song Huang didn't say anything. He just stared at them. A figure slowly walked out from the forest, smoking a cigarette. The two of them sized up the man. He had a calm demeanor, was smoking, and was wearing a silk nightgown with floral patterns. On his feet was a pair of sociopathic slippers. Who are you? Song Huang asked in a low voice. He took a puff of his cigarette and said, I am the idiot that all of you are talking about. That's right. This person was precisely Yi Hua. In actuality, Yi Hua had already sensed Dong Huangli's call for help. After leaving behind a mirror image on the bed, Yi Hua appeared at the scene. I really want to see who dares to provoke my child. Who knew that Ali was completely fine. He was just competing with someone in poetry, and his subordinates were helping Ali cheat. Cheating in games was one thing, but cheating and bullying others was definitely not allowed. He had to properly teach Ali that cheating was not allowed. However, Ali did not embarrass herself. She still had to praise what she deserved. Yi Hua decided that he might as well continue to stay. He saw that Xiao Yi's overall performance was not bad, and he knew how to conduct himself. Of course, when Yi Hua saw Chen Xuanzong, he immediately wanted to kill Chen Xuanzong. However, Qingya's attitude made Yi Hua very happy, and thus, Yi Hua didn't kill Chen Xuanzong. During the auction, Yi Hua also discovered something interesting. Initially, I thought that with Xiao Yi's withdrawal, my family would naturally be able to obtain the position of an aristocratic family, but I didn't expect that Tang family would suddenly appear out of nowhere. However, this was not the main point. It seemed that there was a story behind the Tang family's dagger. It would be better to ask Baiji about it. Things had become very interesting. Initially, Yi Hua wanted to come back directly, but Yi Hua was a little worried. Thus, he followed behind Yi Hua. Sure enough, something happened. Then he quietly stood at the side and watched his wife act cool. Qingya's words made Yi Hua feel very happy. She called Yi Hua hubby so sweetly. When she was at home, she didn't have this kind of attitude. She would call Yi Hua, and when she was acting coquettishly, she would call Yi Hua hubby. However, Qingya was still not decisive enough. There was no need to keep this kind of people, because their nature would never change. If you let them off once, they would think of ways to continue harassing you. The trouble would not stop. More importantly, these two people actually dared to insult my lovely wife and sister-in-law. This sin, even the heavens will not forgive. You even dared to call me an idiot. Since Qingya is merciful and doesn't want to make a move, then let me do it for her. This was just like how the wife would let the man go, and the man would follow behind and kill the man. Hearing Yi Hua's words, the two were puzzled for a moment, and Yi Tai said in surprise, You are Qingya's husband. I, the Supreme Overlord, am naturally her man, and only such an outstanding man like me is worthy of her. Yi Hua breathed out a mouthful of smoke, and an extraordinary aura was being emitted from his entire body. The air of narcissism. Yi Tai and Song Huang also sensed an aura of arrogance coming from Yi Tai. No wonder that woman's arrogance was so high. Yi Tai and Song Huang's emotions were all led astray by Yi Tai. What do you want? Song Huang asked coldly. Yi Hua flicked away the cigarette butt in his hand. What do I want? Don't you stupid humans know what's going on? The two of them slowly retreated. Yi Tai hurriedly said, Your wife just let us go. You can't go back on your words. In my home, my words are the heavens, and they don't count. Yi Hua said faintly. He wanted to light up another cigarette, but in the end he wasn't able to. Dong Huang Baiji had restricted his movements. Seeing Yi Hua's actions, Yi Tai immediately took out the cigarette that he was carrying. Big brother, please smoke. Not bad. You know how to conduct yourself. Yi Hua stuffed the cigarette into his pajamas, then took out a cigarette and lit it up. After taking a puff of the cigarette, Yi Hua immediately wrinkled his brows and looked at the brand. I, the Supreme Overlord, still prefer to smoke Furong King. Therefore, you cannot escape from your sins. Yi Hua silently took a puff of the cigarette. The taste is not bad, just that it is a bit expensive. Right now, my finances are being controlled by my wives, and I only get 100 RMB per day. I can't afford to smoke it. This fellow actually dared to show off in front of me. This is unforgivable. Yi Tai and Song Huang were smart people. Qingya is already so formidable, as her husband. Wouldn't he be even more monstrous? Big brother, I really didn't do it on purpose. It was all his idea that gave me. I was just hot-headed. That's why I did such a foolish thing. Yi Tai pointed at Song Huang and shouted out. Song Huang was also unwilling to give up. Yi Tai, I didn't force you to come. You were the one who wanted to come. Yihua waved his hand and said faintly, "All right, stop fighting, just enjoy your final moments in this world." Yitai shook his head. "I am still young. I don't want to die. You can't kill me. I am the son of an aristocratic family. If you kill me, my father won't let you off. Voidless Realm won't let you off as well." Yitai couldn't help but threaten Yihua. "Right now, this is the only way for me to survive." Yihua let out a breath, then said faintly, "I forgot to tell you too, I still have a wife. Her name is Donghuang Baiji, and she is precisely your empress. Just now, I was even hugging her to sleep." Yitai and Song Huang opened their eyes wide, their faces filled with disbelief. How can the empress be this man's woman? Therefore, don't use your small Yi family to threaten me. With just a flick of my cigarette ash, your Yi family will be annihilated. Yihua flicked the cigarette ash and said slowly. Song Huang suddenly recalled what happened tonight. No wonder those people would respect Qingye so much. No wonder those people from Voidless Realm want to sit beside that woman. Because even the empress is my woman, and that woman definitely knows the empress. Thinking up to here, Song Huang's entire body felt powerless, as if he was about to collapse. After Yihua finished smoking the cigarette, he stepped on the cigarette and extinguished it. "All right, are there any other threats? I can destroy all of your threats one by one. Even if the empress is your wife, you still won't be able to dominate the entire cultivation world. There is still Ing family in the south." Yitai roared out angrily, wanting to use this method to increase his confidence. However, it was completely useless. Yihua said lightly, "Ing family's Ing Jingshan is already my subordinate. Do you think that Ing family would rashly attack Voidless Realm? Without my permission, do you think that they would dare to attack Voidless Realm?" Looking at how easily Yihua described Voidless Realm, Yitai didn't want to believe what Yihua said, but from the bottom of his heart, he believed what Yihua said. This demon. He actually ordered his subordinate to attack Voidless Realm, which is his wife. This demon is simply inhumane. All of your movements are within my grasp. Do you still have any other threats? I will give you a chance to threaten me. Yitai's body became unstable and fell onto the ground. All of this is fake. All of this is fake. Right now, Song Huang's head was buzzing. If what this man said is true, then the entire cultivation world is within his grasp. I might as well give you two a piece of news for free. Ji family was exterminated by me. Chapter 336. Yihua let out a light sigh. I can only act cool in front of the two salted fishes. When will I be able to say something like this in a big scene? That kind of scene would definitely be very exciting. The two of them thought that they were in control of the entire situation, but in actuality, they were just playthings that I, the Supreme Overlord, was holding on to. I am really looking forward to that day. I will remember this debt of Yi family first. I am a stingy person. I will slowly settle it with them in the future. Looking at the two lifeless people in front of him, Yihua lightly tapped on the ground with his finger, and tree roots could actually be seen growing out of the two's legs. It grew out of the flesh and blood, then stabbed into the ground. Branches and leaves sprouted from their bodies. These were formed from the blood of their meridians. The pain was unimaginable, but they didn't faint at all. Instead, they could clearly feel it. Yihua slowly turned his body around. You all actually dared to touch my woman? I shall bestow upon you the most painful punishment. As Yihua's figure disappeared, two trees appeared on the scene. Yitai and Song Huang did not die. They looked at the world around them, and wanted to let out a blood-curdling scream. However, they could not do so. This was even more painful than death. Furthermore, every time a leaf fell or a branch broke, it would be a cruel torture. After all, the leaves and branches were their flesh and blood. As long as the heavens and earth were not destroyed, they could only watch on. Perhaps if there was a fire, they could be freed. After returning back to the bed, Yihua continued to hug onto the empress who was in his embrace, and his hands were lightly rubbing onto her body. Sob, sob, sob. Donghuang Baiji, who was in her sleep, let out a moan. Soon after, she turned over and leaned onto Yihua's bosom, then stretched out her hands and hugged onto Yihua's body. Looking at the empress who looked just like a cat, Yihua laughed lightly and lightly hugged onto the Empress. He gradually fell into a deep sleep. However, tonight Yihua had a bad dream, because the two women quarreled with him again. How is this possible? Where did they get the courage to quarrel with her? Yihua. Yihua, wake up. Dong Huang Baiji's urging voice rang out beside Yihua's ears. Yihua slowly opened his eyes, and what entered his eyes was the beautiful Dong Huang Baiji. The Empress actually put on makeup today. With Dong Huang Baiji's appearance, even if she did not put on makeup, she would still be extremely beautiful. However, after putting on makeup, although it could not be said to be the icing on the cake, it could still slightly embellish her appearance. However, it had a different kind of flavor, and Yihua liked it very much. Furthermore, the Empress was dressed very stylishly today. She was wearing a floral dress, revealing her pure white jade-like arms. Her jet-black hair was tied up behind her head. She was dressed like a married person. Looking at the current Dong Huang Baiji, Yihua said, "Who are you trying to seduce?" Dong Huang Baiji said petulantly, "Isn't it because I'm trying to give you face?" Comfortable. These words sounded comfortable. Without any hesitation, Yihua went downstairs, pressed Dong Huang Baiji onto the bed, and kissed her madly. "My lipstick is ruined." Dong Huang Baiji pushed Yihua away and said with a red face, "Apply more." With that he kissed her. Dong Huang Baiji gave Yihua a sweet kiss, then said, "Stop messing around, something strange happened last night." However, Yihua still hugged onto Dong Huang Baiji and asked, "What's wrong?" Last night, Voidless Realm was going to announce the 6th aristocratic family in the north. However, a situation occurred, and this situation is rather thorny. Dong Huang Baiji also wanted Yihua to help her think of an idea. After all, this matter had already happened a long time ago, and after she got a man, Dong Huang Baiji's reliance on Yihua became a bit too heavy. Yihua asked curiously, "What problem?" Dong Huang Baiji told Yihua about what happened, and Yihua finally understood. So it turns out that this ancient godly item is related to a case that happened 100 years ago. Interesting. This is too interesting. I am interested in this Tang family. I shall give you all a chance then. Do your best to act in this drama. Baiji, getting this ancient godly item is all fate. Furthermore, this is a matter that happened 100 years ago. We shouldn't let the people of the current generation bear this burden. Dong Huang Baiji raised her head and looked towards her husband, then asked tenderly, "Yihua, you mean to let Tang family be chosen? Since you all have a rule that as long as a family possesses an ancient godly item, if you don't allow it now, you would be breaking your promise. After that, who would care about the origin of your ancient godly item?" There was nothing wrong with what Yihua said. On the surface, he was doing this for Voidless Realm's prestige, but in the dark he was preparing to support Tang family. Dong Huang Baiji felt that what Yihua said was very reasonable. Voidless Realm cannot break their promise. And I understand. Dong Huang Baiji smiled tenderly. "Why aren't you thanking your husband?" Yihua lifted onto the Empress's chin and said faintly. Dong Huang Baiji took a charming look at the man, then pounced onto Yihua, looking like she was going to forcefully kiss him. "Hee, I the Supreme Overlord like such a strong woman." After the warm moment in the morning, the two walked out of the door. Right now, Yihua was no longer bound by the crutch, and he looked as if he had completely recovered. Just now, when Yihua saw the message that Qingye sent over, he laughed lightly and replied with a "love you." Of course, there was also the video that Qing Yutong sent over. Today was the registration day for Yizizi. Yihua and Dong Huang Baiji accompanied Yizizi together. Yihua was worried that Yizizi would cause trouble, and Dong Huang Baiji was concerned about Yizizi. After all, Yizizi was her husband's cousin. Dong dong dong. Yihua knocked on Qing Yutong's door. Dong dong dong. Yihua's brows wrinkled. This Yizizi couldn't have run away, right? Yihua directly pushed open the door and entered the room. When he saw Yizizi, who was lying on the bed without a care for her image, Yihua let out a sigh of relief. "If you run away today, I will spank your butt until it becomes swollen." Yizizi was very sad. Yesterday night, when I saw the video that Qing Yutong sent over, I felt very envious. While they are acting cool outside, I have to go and get tortured. I am not willing to accept this. What time is it now? Why aren't you getting up? Yihua shouted gravely. Dong Huangbaiji pulled onto Yihua's arm. She is just a child. What is she shouting for? It is normal for her to sleep late. After finished speaking, Dong Huangbaiji went to wake Yizizi up. Woo, I don't want to wake up. I don't want to go to school. I want to go out and play. I want to play games. Yizizi was only pretending to be asleep. Her four limbs were slapping the blanket, and half of her spotlessly white butt was revealed. Dong Huangbaiji hurriedly covered her butt and said, Zizi, everyone has to go to school. Big cousin has never gone to school before. Yizizi said angrily. Wei Chang and the others don't want to go to school, so why do I have to go to school? Yihua's gaze turned cold as he shouted gravely. Even if you don't want to go to school today, you still have to go to school today. If not, scram with me. Yizizi cried out and hugged onto Dong Huangbaiji. Sister-in-law, look at big cousin, he is bullying me again. Dong Huangbaiji rolled her eyes at Yihua. However, since Yihua is playing the bad cop, I will play the good cop. Alright, your big cousin is doing this for your own good. Get up, if not, even sister-in-law will not be able to stop your big cousin. Yizizi knew that she wouldn't be able to run away, unless she really scram with Yihua. However, she didn't want to scram with Yihua, and thus she could only go to school. Chapter 337. Yihua walked out of the room, then went to the bar counter and poured himself a cup of wine. Not long after, Dong Huangbaiji came out with Yizizi, who had a gloomy look on her face. Today, Yizizi was meticulously dressed up by Dong Huangbaiji. Yizizi was wearing a pink princess dress, a ponytail that was tied with a big butterfly knot, and she was even wearing a pair of extremely long white socks. These are white silk socks, right? With a pair of pink leather shoes on her feet. She looked like a little princess from a fairy tale, or a character from a two-dimensional world. Seeing that Yihua was secretly drinking wine, Dong Huangbaiji advised, don't drink wine on an empty stomach. Yihua kept the wine bottle and hugged onto his wife's waist. Yihua had a look of, this woman is mine, you guys can just go ahead and be envious of her. Yizizi was very depressed as she was being held by Dong Huangbaiji. My depraved life is going to end soon. In the future, I still have to sleep early and wake up early. To a lazy person like me, this is simply torture. It was still the same Audi A8. The Empress was driving, Yihua was sitting at the side, and Yizizi was sitting at the back seat with a face full of melancholy. Yizizi was swinging her legs in boredom, and her scarlet red eyes were looking left and right. Give me a dozen of these cute lolas. Yihua pointed to a fried dough stick stall at the roadside. Baiji, let's stop for breakfast first. Yes. After parking the car, the three of them got out to have breakfast. Most people thought that they were a family of three. The man was handsome, the woman was beautiful, and the child was a lowly. This family's appearance was almost out of the sky. Boss, give me 5 fried dough sticks and 3 bowls of porridge first. Yihua shouted towards the boss. From the looks of it, the boss was also a regular customer. Alright, wait a moment. I'll blow it up for you right away. The three sat down. Dong Huangbaiji wiped her chopsticks and placed them beside Yihua. When all the fried dough sticks were served, Yihua soaked the fried dough sticks in the congee, then ate it. Yihua felt great. Then he ate a mouthful of pickled vegetables. Dong Huangbaiji's table manners were much more elegant, just like Qingya. Yizizi was so angry that she couldn't eat anymore. You are still throwing a tantrum? Yihua said while looking at Yizizi. Big cousin, I can go to school, but I have a request. Yizizi pouted and said. What? I want to buy a Ferrari. Yihua. Looking at Yizizi's expression, Yihua laughed lightly. Can I buy a plane for you? No, I want a Ferrari. I'll buy you an aircraft carrier. No, I want the Ferrari. I, the Supreme Overlord, don't even have a car, and all of the money that I won was taken by Qingya. I will give you 700 renminbi for your living expenses for a week, and this time, when Qingya comes back, I will definitely have a family meeting. At the very least, I have to give her half of the money that I won. I shouldn't have given all of it to Qingya. All right, after you finish registering, I will bring you to buy a Ferrari. Yihua said faintly. Yizizi was delighted. Really? Yihua nodded his head. You actually believe my words? You are too young. Dong Huang Baiji did not say anything. How could Yihua possibly have the money to buy a car? The reason why Dong Huang Baiji and I cut off her husband's source of income wasn't because we wanted to save money. We just wanted Yihua to go out and have a walk, and not stay at home all day. Yingyu Elementary School was one of the key elementary schools in the city. It was said that the entrance exam questions were very difficult, and even some adults couldn't answer them. Today was the registration day, and there were a lot of parents who brought their children to the school, and all of them were dressed up beautifully. Dong Huang Baiji parked the car not far away, and the three of them walked over. Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up. Dong Huang Baiji asked faintly, Yihua, where did you get this cigarette from? I picked it up from the bar counter in the morning. Yihua suddenly had an idea. Dong Huang Baiji stretched out her hand, and Yihua helplessly passed the cigarette to the Empress. You are already preparing to have a child. Don't smoke. Dong Huang Baiji persuaded. Yihua was also very vexed. What does smoking have to do with giving birth to a child? Isn't Ali still smart? This is just a precaution. In my eyes there is no what if. Yihua said disdainfully. Looking at Yihua who was smoking, Dong Huang Baiji decided not to argue anymore, because the Yihua who is smoking, this world is already his. Just like the other parents, the mother was holding on to the child, and the father was sizing up the place. Yihua was the same as well. This school is just SOSO. I hope that Yi Zizi will be able to pass the test. The trio attracted a lot of people's attention. This was a combination of good looks. The whole family was so outstanding. A lot of children were looking at Yi Zizi. Such a cute girl. I must chase after her. Following the documents that Lai Gu provided, Yihua found the teaching director. This teaching director was very honest, and respectfully brought Yihua to the classroom. Yihua received his textbook, school bag, and school uniform. Yi Zizi helplessly carried her heavy school bag, and was unhappy. The boys in the surrounding classes all ran over to look at Yi Zizi, and the boys in Yi Zizi's class were even more excited. I didn't expect that there would be a new student in my class. She is so cute. The girls also revealed envious expressions. She is so cute. Class monitor, this girl is so cute. She is even cuter than the prettiest girl in our class. A child in the classroom said to the class monitor. The class monitor was called Lu Chuanfeng. He was a very awesome primary school student, and beside him was his little brother, Wang Ji. Lu Chuanfeng had already noticed Yi Zizi long ago, and he was even more attracted by Yi Zizi's beauty. She is even more beautiful than his big sisters. Let's talk about it when school starts tomorrow. Lu Chuanfeng said deeply. He did not look like a child at all, and his expression looked more like that of an adult. That's right, Lu Chuanfeng's body was indeed that of an adult. It was just that he had reincarnated into the body of a child, causing him to feel very depressed. The pain was short and powerless. Yi Zizi looked at the primary school students in the classroom, and wished that she could kill them all. Mr. Yi, the procedures have been completed. Just bring the child to school tomorrow, the dean said politely. Up until now, Yi Zizi's performance has been pretty good, and she did not cause any trouble for me. After Yi Zizi left, everyone in the class started to talk about this new student. She's so cute, I like those two ponytails. Back in the car, Yi Zizi put down her bag and said, I want a Ferrari. Baiji, bring her to buy a Ferrari, Yihua said faintly. Dong Huang Baiji was helpless. This fellow will definitely have to fork out his own money. However, Dong Huang Baiji was wrong, and Yi Zizi was also wrong. Looking at the bicycle shop in front of him, Yihua said faintly, pick one yourself. When the time comes, big cousin will carve the 3 words Ferrari on your bicycle. The corner of Yi Zizi's mouth twitched violently. Then she pouted and said, big cousin, you're lying. You still want a Ferrari? Do you have a driver's license? Your height won't even be as high as the steering wheel. Yihua shouted out coldly. This is too outrageous, not as obedient as my daughter. Just how did I bring her up in the past, to let her develop so many bad habits? Chapter 338. Dong Huang Baiji didn't know what to say anymore. Then get the hell out of here. Oh, if Zizi doesn't get lost, I want the Ferrari. Yihua stared at Yi Zizi coldly, and the latter shrunk her head. His honor is angry. Yihua, enough, why are you scaring Zizi? Dong Huangbaiji interceded for Yi Zizi. When Yihua put on a stern face, it was rather scary. You are really lacking discipline. In the future, when we take the bus, there is nothing to discuss. After finished speaking, Yihua pulled Dong Huangbaiji and left. Yi Zizi shouted out in her heart. His honor is a scoundrel, stingy, jealous king, pretentious king, bullying a child, shameless. After returning back, Yi Zizi heavily closed the door. This was her way of expressing her rebellion. Meanwhile, Yihua shouted towards Yi Zizi who was in the room. Either you go to school tomorrow, or you run away from home tomorrow. Dong Huangbaiji said tenderly, All right Yihua, stop scolding the child. You are asking for a beating. Yihua said angrily. Within the entire 7 sins, only Yi Zizi was mischievous. Yi Zizi threw off the shoes on her feet, then sat on the bed while hugging onto the pillow. Yi Zizi continuously scolded his honor, thinking that the previous his honor was the best. It must be said, the little loli who was sitting on the bed was much more tasteful. Her body was soft and easy to push down. Although her legs weren't long, they were very tasteful. Yi Zizi decided, I am not going to school even if I am beaten to death. I am going to leave home. I am not going to play with his honor anymore. The next morning at 6 a.m., Yi Zizi was woken up by the alarm, rubbing her hazy big eyes. It has been a long time since I woke up so early. After washing up, Yi Zizi wore a brand new school uniform, carried her school bag, and left the house. Yihua stood on the windowsill of the bedroom, hugged onto the Empress and said faintly, You are quite sensible. Yihua, I still want to sleep. The Empress said sweetly while caressing onto Yihua's chest. Hearing the Empress's request, Yihua would naturally satisfy it. Yi Zizi kicked the pebbles on the road, feeling very depressed. However, Yi Zizi who was wearing the blue school uniform was rather cute. If she was wearing a red scarf, she would be even more outstanding. Zizi, you are going to school. An aunt who was selling pancakes greeted Zizi. Yi Zizi nodded silently. She didn't seem to like communicating with others, but when she saw the pancake, she licked the corner of her mouth. You haven't had breakfast yet, right? Auntie will make you a pancake. Yi Zizi took out the money and found that it was 2 yuan for the bus fare and lunch. She didn't even have pocket money. Yi Zizi, the poorest of the 7 deadly sins in history. The middle-aged woman seemed to know what Yi Zizi was thinking and said generously, I won't charge you. Hearing that, Yi Zizi immediately became happy. She revealed a smile, but she still didn't say anything, as if she had a language disorder. If Yihua were to find out that the aunt was giving Yi Zizi free food, he would definitely come over to argue with Yihua. Why can't I, the supreme overlord, do it for free? Yi Zizi was in a much better mood as she held the piping hot fruit pancake in her hand. She skipped toward the bus stop. There were still many people waiting for the bus. The pancakes made by the auntie were really delicious. Yi Zizi got on the bus while eating her pancake and stuffed 1 yuan into the driver's pocket. As the bus moved forward, the number of people on the bus increased. Yi Zizi sat in her seat and looked out of the window. Little friend, hurry up and give me your seat. A middle-aged woman with a wavy hairstyle said to Yi Zizi. Her tone was very domineering. Yi Zizi turned to look at the woman, then looked out the window. Ah, little friend, you are very impolite. Everyone, quickly come and take a look. Upon seeing that, the middle-aged woman immediately started using all kinds of moral coercion on Yi Zizi. Yi Zizi's face was very tense. She really wanted to slap the middle-aged woman who was making noise in front of her to death. In actuality, Yi Zizi's patience wasn't that good. As long as the enemy used a bit of provocation, Yi Zizi would fall for it. At this time, an old man stood out and said, How can you be like this? You are so young. Yet you are already taking advantage of your seniority. You have hands and feet, yet you are still bullying an immature child. After being said by the old man, the middle-aged woman seemed to be embarrassed. Furthermore, the surrounding people were also discussing spiritedly. In the past, I used this trick every time I used it, but today it doesn't work anymore. In actuality, Yi Zizi's forbearing look, in the eyes of other people, looked like she was helpless. She looked very pitiful, and no one had the heart to scold this little girl. Old man, what does this have to do with you? If you have the ability, why don't you ask her to give you her seat? The middle-aged woman was unconvinced and appeared to be very sharp and unkind. Yi Zizi suddenly stood up and pulled onto the old man. The meaning behind her action was very obvious. The old man smiled kindly and said, "No need, Grandpa's body is great." Yi Zizi shook her head and pointed to the seat. With a smile on his face, the old man sat down and said to the middle-aged woman, "Look at this child, why is she so impolite? But you are the one who is impolite." The middle-aged woman was slapped in the face by her own words, and she felt extremely embarrassed. When the bus stopped, she got off the bus. Yi Zizi used her brain. If Yi Hua knew about this, he would definitely be very gratified. Don't think that this is just a small matter of giving up her seat. If it was used in other places, the effect would be extraordinary. Yi Hua's goal could be considered to have been achieved. "Little friend, where are you going?" Seeing that Yi Zizi was wearing a school uniform, the old man asked curiously. Yi Zizi had a bit of a favorable impression towards this old man. "In Yu Elementary School." The old man went into a daze and said hurriedly, "Little friend, you are taking the wrong bus. You are taking the 118 bus." "Oh," Yi Zizi replied indifferently. "So it turns out that I took the wrong bus. Should I be anxious? Or should I be sad? I might as well skip school. That should be very happy." Seeing that Yi Zizi's behavior was different from other children, the old man asked concernedly, "You don't know how to get to school?" Yi Zizi shook her head. "Where are your father and mother?" Yi Zizi shook her head. "My own parents. They should be dead, right?" The old man was also very worried and decided to send Yi Zizi to school. After arriving at the bus stop, the old man brought Yi Zizi to the correct bus. Yi Zizi felt that the old man was very strange. Why does he care about my matters? Does he not need to do anything? He is so bored. Half an hour later, they arrived at Yu Elementary School. Right now it was already 7:50 p.m., and the gates of the school were all closed. Yi Zizi was late for the first day of school. "What are you guys doing?" The security guard at the entrance shouted out. The old man smiled and said, "The child took the wrong bus, that's why he is late." The security guard looked at Yi Zizi, who had a cold expression on her face. Since she is wearing a school uniform, she should be from this school. "Go in, don't be late next time." The old man smiled and said to Yi Zizi, "Quickly go in." Yi Zizi wrinkled her brows, as if she was making a difficult choice. "Thank you." After saying that, Yi Zizi ran into the school. Yi Zizi still did not have any reaction. After using all kinds of tricks, Teacher Ma walked to Yi Zizi with a gloomy face. "Yi Zizi, Yi Zizi." No reaction, no reaction, the stubborn brat. Teacher Ma hurriedly went to find the phone number of the child's parents. He had to talk to them. Right now Yi Hua and Donghuang Baiji had just woken up. Right after brushing their teeth, Yi Hua received a call from his teacher. "Baiji, I will make a trip to school." Yi Hua said gravely, "This is the first day, and you are already being dishonest." Donghuang Baiji was currently washing up, and when she heard that Yi Hua was going to school, she thought to herself that it was definitely because of Yi Zizi. "Yi Hua, wait for me, let's go together." Donghuang Baiji was still worried, and she felt that it would be better for her to tag along with them. The two of them didn't even eat breakfast and directly rushed to the school. In the office, Teacher Ma stared at Yi Zizi while Yi Zizi looked out of the window with a worried look. At this moment, Yi Hua and Donghuang Baiji rushed over. When Yi Hua saw Yi Zizi's attitude, his anger soared. To actually go against the Supreme Overlord, Yi Hua's guts were getting bigger and bigger. "Yi Zizi, see if I don't beat you to death today." After speaking, Yi Hua immediately rushed forward. The surrounding teachers were all stupefied by Yi Hua's attitude. This is not an act. This is for real. To even be able to help a child like that, you are completely inhumane. Donghuang Baiji pulled onto Yi Hua. "Yi Hua, no matter how immature Zizi is, you still can't hit him." "Baiji, let go of me. Today, I will definitely beat this fellow to death." Yi Hua shouted out angrily. Yi Zizi appeared to be very scared. She retreated to the corner of the wall and trembled. Originally, he wanted to talk to the parent, but he didn't expect the parent to be even more violent. No wonder the child's personality was like that. He was afraid of being beaten up. Don't be agitated. In fact, Yi Zizi didn't do anything. She was just late today. Teacher Ma hurriedly comforted. Yi Hua went into a daze. Not only did he not ease up, he even said coldly, Yi Zizi, you dare to be late. What did I teach you? You must have a sense of time. Today, I will definitely beat you to death. Thinking back, Yi Zizi would often be late to battles. The reason for that was because she had overslept and didn't have a sense of time at all. Facing His Honor's anger, Yi Zizi shrunk into a corner and looked very pitiful. Teacher Ma turned pale with fright. I didn't expect that a small amount of being late would make him so angry. Wouldn't Yi Zizi be beaten to death when she returns to school? Don't be angry, student Yi Zizi had already explained just now. Last night, she revised until very late, and today, she even helped an old granny to cross the road, which is why she was late. She is a good child, she is worthy of praise. Teacher Ma's attitude really changed 180 degrees. Yi Hua looked at Yi Zizi, seemingly asking if what the teacher said was true or not. Yi Zizi nodded her head fearfully. All right, let go of me. Yi Hua said to Donghuang Baiji who was beside him. Donghuang Baiji was helpless. I didn't expect that Yi Hua's attitude towards Yi Zizi would be so explosive. Yi Hua looked at Teacher Ma who was in front of him and said faintly, if Yi Zizi dares to act recklessly in school, give me a call. I will go back tonight and properly take care of her. Teacher Ma's expression stiffened as he persuaded. That hitting a child won't solve the problem. If you don't hit her, she won't learn her lesson. I will remember it. After finished speaking, Yi Hua left with Donghuang Baiji. All of the teachers who were present let out a breath of relief. This parent's temper is too big. We are really worried for this child. This child is so adorable. It is possible that there are injuries all over her body. Teacher Ma sighed. Yi Zizi, go back to class. Yi Zizi did not say anything and silently walked out of the office. This is so boring. His Honor's acting skills are too weak. He looked like he was going to hit me, but he was held back by sister-in-law. This is too fake. However, this is also good, that Teacher Ma won't casually complain about me in the future. Yi Hua who was sitting back in the car was very angry. Yi Zizi is too unruly. Yi Hua, what happened today? Why are you so angry today? Donghuang Baiji was very puzzled. Yi Hua sighed lightly. Nothing much, let's go back home. Seeing that Yi Hua wasn't willing to talk about it, Donghuang Baiji didn't continue asking. She felt that Yi Hua had quite a lot of secrets on him. She wanted to ask about it, but she was afraid that Yi Hua would get angry. Meanwhile, Qingya who was far away in Zijin City was very puzzled. Regarding the auction that night, everyone's attitude was suspicious, especially Xiao Yi. That attitude of his was completely filled with unwillingness. Chapter 340. These 2 days, Qingya and her sister had been accompanying their mother, and did not go out at all. Meanwhile, after Chu Bai sent the 2 ladies back that night, he immediately returned to the Chu family. He reported the scandal of Yi Tai and Song Huang to the Chu family. The Chu family was furious. They didn't expect that Yi Tai and Song Huang would actually surround and kill their son. For this kind of matter, justice must be sought. Yi family naturally wouldn't believe such a one-sided story. Thus, Yi family sent people to look for Yi Tai and Song Huang. However, up till now Yi Tai and Song Huang were still not found. Within Qing family's villa, Qing Yutong was currently hugging onto Dong Huang Li, and the 2 of them were currently watching Happy Home. It was fine that Dong Huang Li was focused, but Qing Yutong was the same as well. From time to time, Qing Yutong and Dong Huang Li would discuss the plot of the movie and which sheep would be eaten first. Qingya sat at the side and pondered. Yutong, did you contact Sage Doctor? Wang Muqing asked tenderly. Qing Yutong smiled. Mom, why would Sage Doctor take a fancy to me? He has not contacted me for a long time. Silly child, if he doesn't contact you, you can contact him. Qing Yutong immediately became speechless. My mother is so snobbish. Zihan asked. Yeah, are you in contact with Qin Xuanzong? Qingya couldn't come back to her senses. Yeah? Zihan called out. Mom, what's wrong? Qingya came back to her senses and asked. Just now, she was thinking about something. Zihan sighed. What are you thinking about? Oh, nothing. What's wrong? Have you met with Qin Xuanzong? Zihan asked. Qingya wrinkled her brows. From the looks of it, my mother has taken a fancy to Qin Xuanzong. Mother, I am a married woman. Is it all right for you to do this? Zihan sighed helplessly. The two mothers looked at each other, and their eyes were full of depression. Standing up, Qingya said lightly, I will go and buy a roast duck, Yutong. Do you want to go with me? Qin Yutong was not interested in buying roast duck. Not going, you can go by yourself. Ali, are you going? Qingya asked. Dong Huangli said with a childish voice, Ali won't go. All right, since the two of you aren't going, I will go by myself then. Qingya appeared to be depressed, but in actuality, she was smiling in her heart. This is a move of retreating in order to advance. After all, they were Yihua's eyes. Just now, if I were to directly say it out, Qin Yutong would definitely be doubtful. Thus, I decided to ask first, and let my little sister let down her guard. Sure enough, Qingya did not change her clothes. Wearing a t-shirt and jeans, she casually took a car key and left the house. Qin Yutong, this 007, did not fulfill his duty. Because Qingya planned to pay a visit to Xiao family, she wanted to know why Xiao Yi suddenly returned the money. In actuality, this question had been perplexing Qingya for a very long time. When Xiao Yi appeared respectfully, Qingya became even more curious. Since Yihua isn't willing to tell me, I'll just go and ask him myself. Due to Qin Yutong's negligence, the originally tranquil family's disturbance once again seemed to be stirred up. Qingya drove a BMW 740 and headed straight towards Xiao family. 40 minutes later, Qingya stopped the car outside of Xiao mansion. Looking at this Xiao mansion, Qingya was rather shocked. This Xiao mansion sure is imposing. Yihua is much more low profile. Yihua had gotten used to it, and that was why he decided to change his taste. Miss, what's the matter? The guard at the entrance of the Xiao mansion asked. Qingya said faintly, I am looking for Xiao Yi. I dare to name you Mississippi, Qingya. Miss, please wait a moment. As he spoke, the guard went to register and soon returned. Xiao Yi himself also came out to greet him. CEO Qing. Xiao Yi smiled and greeted. CEO Xiao. Qingya smiled gently. Xiao Yi hurriedly invited Qingya into the house. The two of them walked into the courtyard of Xiao Mansion, and while listening to the sound of flowing water, Qingya said, CEO Xiao, the environment here is really unique. It's all right, these are all the masterpieces of the wives. Xiao Yi followed beside Qingya. If one were to observe carefully, Xiao Yi's attitude was that of accompanying Qingya, and not that of a master. Even Qingya was able to sense this point. CEO Xiao is so fortunate to have so many wives. Qingya smiled and said, Fortunately, Yihua isn't like this. Xiao Yi said, This Xiao's luck is rather good to be able to obtain their love. CEO Qing, how about we go inside and have a cup of tea? Qingya nodded her head. Soon after, the two of them arrived at the main hall. Shunan personally brewed tea and served it. And when Xiao Yi's wives found out that Qingya had come, they all came out to greet Qingya. The topic of conversation revolved around the trivial matters of the family, and Xiao Yi was curious about the meaning behind Qingya's sudden visit. Looking at Yuqi's bulging belly, Qingya said to Xiao Yi, Congratulations to CEO Xiao for becoming a father. Xiao Yi was naturally happy. Haha, this child is very mischievous. Qingya touched her belly, and this action of hers was seen by Shunan. CEO Qing is pregnant? Qingya appeared to be very happy as she nodded her head slightly. That's right. I have been pregnant for a few months already. It was only recently that my belly had a big reaction. Congratulations to CEO Qing. I wish that you will be blessed with a child. Same to you. Qingya said courteously. When the topic of conversation reached here, everyone seemed to be a bit awkward and didn't know what to say. Meanwhile, Qingya discovered a strange matter. Why is Nangong Sini missing from Xiao Yi's wives? CEO Xiao, where did Madame Nangong go? Why don't I see her? When Qingye said that, the expressions of Xiao Yi and his wives froze. Qingye was very sensitive right now, and she immediately discovered the strangeness in their expressions. Could it be that something happened to Nangong Sini? Suddenly, a female servant appeared with a child. "Daddy, let's go and play football." The child was precisely Xiao Yi's son, Xiao Yun. Xiao Yi revealed out a loving smile. "Yuner, there is a guest at home. This is Aunt Qing." Xiao Yun was very courteous as he shouted towards Qingye, "Hello, Aunt Qing." "This child looks really good," Qingye asked with a smile. "Whose child is this?" Shunan said with a smile. "This is big sister Nangong's child." Qingye waved her hand, and Xiao Yun walked in front of Qingye. "I feel that this aunt in front of me is really beautiful." "Little fellow, where did your mother go?" Qingye asked curiously. Xiao Yun's little face collapsed. "Daddy said that mommy went out on a business trip, and it will be a long time before she comes back." After finished speaking, Xiao Yun immediately missed his mother. He pounced into his father's embrace and shouted, "Daddy, Yuner misses mommy. Can you bring me to see mommy?" The corner of Xiao Yi's mouth slightly trembled, and his complexion was very abnormal. "Yu Qi, bring Yuner down to sleep," Xiao Yi said gravely. Xiao Yun immediately started bawling loudly, clamoring for his mother. Only after a few maids came over and carried Xiao Yun away did the bawling sound not stop. Right now, Qingye was very sure that something happened to Nangong Sini, and Xiao Yi had sealed this matter. "CEO Xiao, actually, I came here today because I have a matter that I want to ask you," Qingye said. Xiao Yi nodded his head. Qingye asked faintly, "That 50 billion from back then, why did you suddenly return it?" "Why did you return it?" The memories of everyone in Xiao family were pulled back to that night. Facing against the incomparably valiant skeleton, what else could they do? Not only did they have to return the money, they also had to return a life. To Xiao Yi, the blow that night was too heavy. His beloved was forced to death by the skeleton, and what was laughable was that in the end, he still went to beg them, and even helped his enemy. Thinking about such a matter, Xiao Yi clenched his fists tightly, and spiritual energy gradually spread out from his body. At the same time, spiritual energy was also emitted out from his body. Cough, cough, cough. Shunan lightly coughed a few times, reminding her husband to be careful. Chapter 341. Xiao Yi gradually retracted his fierce aura, but from Qingye's point of view, this was all an act. Even the words that he was going to say later were all fake. "CEO Qing, regarding the matter last time, this Xiao is sorry. I did not fulfill my promise in time. This Xiao is ashamed. I hope that CEO Qing can be magnanimous enough to forgive me." With that, Xiao Yi even stood up and cupped his hands, expressing his apology. "My money is gone, my beloved wife was forced to death, I still have to be ordered by the enemy, and now, I still have to apologize for this matter. What is going on with this world?" Qingye was originally just curious, wanting to see what kind of tricks Yihua played to make those people who looked down on her change their temperament. Of course, she was happy in her heart. After all, Yihua did it all for her, not letting her get hurt or be looked down upon by others. Having a husband who cared about her like this, Qingye felt that she was very happy. But from the looks of it now, the matter doesn't seem to be that simple. Thinking of Yihua's strength, could it be that he used violence? The Xiao family had used violence, and the others had been frightened. Qingye didn't want to continue asking, because she was afraid of finding out some bad things. After all, the awakening of her bloodline made her have a strange pity or benevolence. This Queen Yuwa's duty was to protect the common people. She wouldn't be soft-hearted towards evil, but towards the weak, she would feel pity. Thus, Qingye didn't want to continue asking. She stood up and said with a smile, "CEO Xiao must be joking. That is all in the past. I still have some matters at home. I won't disturb you anymore." "CEO Qing, I will send you out." Xiao Yi forced a smile and said. Qingye nodded her head. However, just as Qingye was about to leave, Yu Qi suddenly knelt on the ground and begged, "CEO Qing, please save our Xiao family." A pregnant woman knelt on the ground and begged. This made Qingye, who was preparing to leave, change her expression. Just what happened to make these people so hesitant? Looking at the panic on their faces, it was as if they had received a huge shock. "Yu Qi, What are you doing? Quickly get up. Xiao Yi shouted coldly. Yu Qi's action was no less than self-immolation. The current situation was very clear. Qingye didn't know about those matters at all. If the mastermind was the bar's boss, then he would have concealed it. But with this kneeling, everything would be exposed. Then why did the boss have to conceal it? Wasn't it just because he was afraid that Qingye would know some shady matters? If this matter was exposed, the Xiao family would face terrifying consequences. Xiao Yi and Xu Nen did not dare to continue thinking about it. But what could Yu Qi do? She was just an ordinary woman who was pregnant with a child. During this period of time, she was on tenterhooks, afraid that what happened that night would happen again. It didn't matter if she died. She was worried about her child. As a mother, it wasn't wrong to plead for the life of the child in her womb, right? Yu Qi, get up. Xu Nen tried to persuade her. Stop talking. Yu Qi, who was always on tenterhooks, was actually a bit depressed. She directly kneeled in front of Qingye and grabbed onto Qingye's ankle. Co Qing, I beg you to spare my child's life, he is innocent. Xiao Yi shouted in a deep voice. Bring Yu Qi to her room to rest. All the lovely wives stood up, and suddenly all knelt on the ground, and begged with their tender voices. Co Qing, please let our Xiao family go. Xiao Yi and Xu Nen were both stunned. Just like Yu Qi, Xiao Yi's other wives were also very worried. They were afraid that something would happen to their husbands. Now that Qingye was here, they had no choice but to try their best. They thought that as long as they begged Qingye, they wouldn't make things difficult for Xiao family. But what they didn't know was that Yihua didn't say anything about this matter, and he didn't plan to say anything. To Yihua at that time, not massacring Xiao family was already very lenient, and he even felt that there was no need to say such a small matter. Looking at the actions of Xiao Yi's wives, Qingye's eyebrows wrinkled deeply. Just what did Yihua do to make them kneel on the ground and beg for mercy? No wonder Xiao Yi's attitude was so good. Now I finally know. All of you get up. Qingye said gravely. All the lovely wives were crying non-stop. That kind of pressure of living under a haze every day made their hearts hurt. Qingye sat on the chair at the side, while Xiao Yi sat on the main seat with a gloomy face. What else can we do now? We have already been exposed. We can only rely on Qingye now. Just what happened? Qingye asked faintly. Everyone remained silent and looked at Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi took a deep breath, then opened his bloodshot eyes and said, This matter has to start from that bet. Qingye nodded her head. That is indeed the case. CEO Qing, I didn't want to pay back the money that bet, which was why someone came to my door and fought with me. In the end, I still lost. Not only did I pay back the money, I also paid back a person's life. Xiao Yi said it very casually, but when he thought of his beloved wife's death, his heart felt as if it was being twisted by a knife. Qingye was very shocked and said in disbelief, A person's life is Nangong Sini's? Xiao Yi nodded his head. My beloved wife was forced to her death. He said that this was the interest, and he wanted me to choose one of my women to die with. The crying sound of women rang out in the hall. The situation back then was so sad and helpless, and they could only watch helplessly as Nangong Sini fell in front of them. Qingye was very shocked. It is normal to ask for a debt, but to force a person to her death, I am a little unable to tolerate this kind of method. Who is the person that you all are talking about? Qingye's question was a little nervous. Please don't say it is Yihua. Yihua would never do such a heinous thing. Xiao Yi didn't speak carelessly. It is a skeleton that is wearing a black robe. Qingye let out a breath of relief. Fortunately, it is not Yihua. Although my Yihua likes to act cool, he is not to the extent of doing such a thing. There is also a lump of black fog. Yu Qi added. A lump of black fog? Qingye asked puzzledly. Xiao Yi explained. That lump of black fog seems to be the owner of the black robe. Xiao Yi hurriedly shut his mouth. I can't say any more. What happened to them? Qingye asked coldly. They are very strong, but they seem to be obeying someone. Right now, Xiao Yi could only place all of his hopes on Qingye. Even if Xiao Yi didn't say it, Qingye would be able to guess it. After all, Yihua had taken out those transfer agreements back then. And the person behind the black robe should be Yihua. Right now, Qingye's mood was very complicated, and she didn't know what to do. Why would Yihua use such a method to step on someone's debt? Is this still the Yihua that I know? Doesn't he just like to smoke, drink, and brag? Why would he choose to force a woman to her death? What about a mother? Qinya was really unable to understand. Did this black robe do anything else? Qinya asked gravely. Withdrawing from the aristocratic family selection this time was also the black robe's order. Xiao Yi said bluntly. Why don't you talk about the matter of the black robe helping you? Do you know the consequences of this? Chapter 342. I heard that this black gown even did something improper to Cloud Sect's sect master, causing Cloud Sect's sect master to be chased out of the sect. When an ancient godly item appeared in the south, the black gown was also present. Illicit affairs? Qinya's expression sunk. Not only did Yi Hua's subordinate force a mother to death, he even harmed a woman? Is this matter related to Yi Hua or not? Is it his subordinate's misbehavior, or did he get Yi Hua's permission? Qinya would rather believe that the black gown was the one who did it, and that Yi Hua didn't know about it at all. I understand, you guys can be at ease. Qinya seemed to have a lot on her mind, and after finished speaking, she walked out of the hall. Xiao Yi hurriedly followed after her and sent Qinya out. Looking at Qinya leaving, Xiao Yi's thoughts were very complicated. I really don't know if this matter is right or wrong. I feel that Xiao family's fate is hanging in the balance once again. Qinya didn't directly return home. Instead, she bought a roast duck before returning home. Big sister, why did you take so long to buy a roast duck? We are about to starve to death. Qin Yutong hugged onto Dong Huangli and played around. The two mothers shook their heads. They are already so old, yet they are acting like children. Aunt Qing, Ali's stomach is about to shrivel up. Dong Huangli rubbed onto her stomach and said while giggling. Qinya smiled. Quickly let Aunt touch your stomach. There was a traffic jam on the road just now, so I was late. Qin Yutong rolled her eyes at her big sister. You already gambled for 2 hours. You couldn't have met your lover, right? Qinya knocked onto her little sister's head. Just eat your roast duck. Zihan's eyes shone. Could it be that I went to meet Chen Xuanzong just now? I already bought a roast duck as my name. That's great. Qinya, who returned home, seemed very normal. There wasn't the slightest bit of abnormality. Because right now, Qinya felt that Yi Hua was wronged. He wouldn't do such a thing. However, she didn't dare to question Yi Hua directly, fearing that she would get a different answer. If that happened, she really wouldn't know what to do. This damned bloodline effect. Time passed by just like this, day after day. A week passed by in the blink of an eye. Yi Tai and Song Huang were still nowhere to be found. No one knew where they went. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air. This made the Yi family's clan leader, Yi Xiao, feel a little uneasy. Meanwhile, Voidless Realm also released the results of the selection, and Voidless Realm allowed Tang family to participate in the selection. This caused Bai family to go crazy from anger. In order to avoid any casualties, Voidless Realm warned Tang family and Bai family that before the results of the election were revealed, fighting was not allowed, and those who violated the rules would be eliminated from the election. To the Tang clan, this was a good thing. But to the Bai clan it was like adding snow to snow. Originally, Qinya had said that she would be able to go back in a week, but even after Qin Yutong had urged her to go back a few times, Qinya still said that she would be accompanying her parents, and in actuality, Qinya didn't dare to go back. Recently, Yi Zizi had become a lot more well-behaved. Yi Zizi was not late for school, and after school ended, she would go home. Yi Zizi also did not cause any trouble in school. This made Yi Hua rather happy. Yi Zizi had grown up. However, right now Yi Hua was a bit gloomy. This Qinya doesn't even plan to return to her maiden home. However, with Dong Huang Baiji accompanying Yi Hua every single day, Yi Hua's mood became slightly better. Just that, the plan to give birth to a child has yet to be carried out. Right now Yi Hua wasn't anxious, but Dong Huang Baiji was anxious. At least twice a day, she would ask Yi Hua, when are we going to have a child? Yi Hua was very smug. Look at how the Empress is begging for a child right now. Yet I, the Supreme Overlord, refuse to give it to you. On this day, Yi Hua couldn't take it anymore. He took out his phone and gave a call to Qinya. You have to come back today, if not, I will go and catch you. Yihua gave a death order. I haven't seen Qinya for almost half a month, and I am starting to miss her. Hearing Yihua's familiar voice, Qinya said tenderly, all right, we will come back today. That's more like it. We will be having crayfish tonight. Qinya. After keeping his phone, Yihua laughed lightly. His mood was pretty good. After watching TV for a while, he went to pick up Qinya from the airport. Donghuang Baiji walked behind Yihua, then stretched out her slender hand and placed onto Yihua's shoulder. Qinya, are you going to come back? And if you don't come back, I will have to catch you. Yihua smiled faintly. Donghuang Baiji said gently, all right, I'm jealous. Oh? Empress is jealous? I want to see what she looks like. Hateful. After speaking, Yihua hugged the Empress in his embrace and started to take liberties with her. Meanwhile, the Empress was very vexed. This Yihua only ignites the fire, but doesn't extinguish the fire. Knowing that she was going to return home, Dong Huangli appeared to be very happy. I have had enough of staying in Zijin City for the past few days, and I miss my daddy and mommy. With regards to my 2 daughters wanting to return south, there is nothing I can do about it. Zihan and Wang Muqing sent their daughters to the airport and were reluctant to part with them. The next time I come back will be during Chinese New Year, right? On the other side, Yihua and Donghuang Baiji arrived at Long and City's airport to pick up Qinya. When Yihua saw the 3 of them walking out of the airport, a faint smile appeared on Yihua's face. After not seeing Qinya for almost half a month, Qinya is still so beautiful. Daddy, Mommy. Upon seeing her parents, Dong Huangli sprinted over like a little Superman and directly threw herself into Yihua's embrace. While carrying his daughter, Yihua asked lightly, has Ali been obedient these few days? And Ali has been very obedient. After speaking, Ali kissed her father, then stretched out her hands towards her mother. Donghuang Baiji took over her daughter, and both mother and daughter were very affectionate towards each other. Meanwhile, Yihua looked towards Qinya. Why aren't you coming into my embrace yet? Qinya slowly walked to the front of Qinya, then hugged onto her husband's body and said tenderly, Yihua, I missed you so much. This was probably the longest time the two had been apart. Lightly hugging onto Qinya, Yihua said tenderly, I missed you too. Hearing Yihua's tone, Qinya felt a bit more at ease. After all, a man who is in love will not do that kind of thing. Qin Yutong, who was standing at the side, was very unhappy. Why isn't there anyone welcoming the baby? It was too inhumane. Seeing that his sister-in-law was standing at the side gloomily, Yihua let go of his wife and hugged his sister-in-law. Don't misunderstand, this is just brother-in-law's love for his sister-in-law. I, the Supreme Overlord, never lie. Qin Yutong became happy. I didn't get spanked by my brother-in-law for nothing, and immediately gave Qin Yutong a hug. Yihua took a look at the men in the surroundings and sneered in his heart. My luck with women is not something that you all can enjoy. The surrounding men who took the opportunity were very envious. This beauty was hugged by the same man. God was unfair. Yihua expressed that the effect of acting cool was not bad, and it was about time for him to go back. Come on, let's go home. His left hand was holding on to Qinya, his right hand was holding on to the Empress, and behind him was his sister-in-law. I am a winner in life. If anyone was dissatisfied, they could step forward and ask for guidance. I will teach you a lesson every minute. When Yihua returned back to Qinya Bar, it was already 7 p.m. Yihua knew that Qinya was going to come back soon, and thus, he decided to close the bar for the night. Yihua and his family were going to have a good meal together and enjoy this moment of reunion. When Qin Yutong saw Yi Zizi, who was wearing the school uniform, she immediately became furious. That smug look on Yi Zizi's face made even Yihua want to spank her butt, let alone Yi Zizi herself. Chapter 343. Daddy, I want more meat, more meat. Right now, Dong Huangli didn't even bother to peel the crayfish and directly finished off 2 big pieces of meat. Yihua drank the wine and said faintly, Ali, you can't eat too much of this kind of meat. Dong Huangli pouted her small mouth and wrinkled her brows. Dong Huangli seemed to be saying that if you don't give it to me, I will cry. Of course, Yihua wouldn't spoil Ali too much. After all, Ali was still young, and Ali could only eat in moderation. Seeing that her daddy was really not going to give her any more, Dong Huangli looked towards Qing Yutong and said, "Aunt Qing, give some to Ali." After finished speaking, Qing Yutong even picked up the plate and placed it in front of Qing Yutong, causing everyone to laugh endlessly. "Ali, you have to listen to Daddy's words. Aunt Qing also came over like this. Next time, eat slower, and once you get used to it, you will be fine," Qing Yutong said with a smile, while protecting the meat on the plate. Stingy, Dong Huangli pouted her small mouth and looked towards her mommy. Dong Huang Baiji naturally loved her daughter dearly, and just when she was about to give her daughter some, Yihua said faintly, "Baiji." Since her husband had already spoken, Dong Huang Baiji was powerless to help. At the same time, she also knew that although the meat was good, it must be eaten in moderation. At the same time, Dong Huang Baiji was able to understand that Dong Huang Baiji shouldn't spoil the child too much. Dong Huangli became even more depressed. Ali is angry, the kind that can't be coaxed. Everyone ignored him. A few minutes later, Dong Huangli could only acquiesce to the fact that Dong Huangli was right. Dong Huangli began peeling the crayfish, then began fawning on her daddy and mommy in various ways. Yihua was very gratified. "My daughter is still sensible." "Qinya, did anything happen during the past few days?" Yihua asked. Qinya placed the prawn meat into Yihua's bowl and said tenderly, "No, I just brought Ali to walk around." "That old friend of yours didn't come to look for you?" What Yihua mainly wanted to ask was this. After all, the title of Jealous King, in the cultivation world, isn't just randomly given. Qinya laughed lightly. "With a jealous king like you around, who would dare to look for me?" "Qinya, pay attention to your words. I am just concerned about you," Yihua said faintly. "Jealous? Will I be jealous? Stop daydreaming. Even if this old man collapses, I, the Supreme Overlord, will not feel jealous." All right, I am concerned about you." Qinya smiled helplessly. Seeing that Yi Zizi had become taciturn, Qinya asked curiously, "Zizi, is going to school fun?" "I'm very happy," Yi Zizi said quietly. This sentence was too fake. At least smile. Ali wants to go to school too, and in the future, she wants to become a doctor. Dong Huangli shouted out. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. "Why do you want to become a doctor?" "Because Ali wants to save the dying and heal the injured." Hearing that, Yihua felt that it was inappropriate. "My daughter doesn't need to be saved." However, when Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji heard Dong Huang Baiji's words, the two wives felt very gratified. Yihua said indifferently, "What's so good about being a doctor? In the future, Daddy will bring you along to conquer the world." Sure enough, upon hearing that, Dong Huangli became very excited. "Daddy, when are we going to conquer the world?" "When Ali grows up, we'll go." Dong Huang Baiji smiled. "All right, Yihua. Ali is still so young, there's no need to teach her these things. This child will have to be picked up from when he is young. You all don't have to worry about him anymore." Yihua put on the airs of the head of a family. "Everything will be decided by me." Using Yihua's words, "The two of you will be responsible for taking good care of me, while I will stay at home and teach the child how to conquer the world." Speaking of the matter regarding the child, Qinya wanted to express her opinion. "Yihua, Ali is still young right now. Don't teach her some dangerous techniques. If an accident were to happen, the innocent would be harmed." Dong Huang Baiji still didn't know about this matter, and she asked confusedly, "What technique?" Dong Huangli began showing off as deviant flames appeared on all 10 of her fingers. "Mommy, is it nice?" Dong Huang Baiji was startled. Sensing the terrifying aura coming from the deviant flames, she hurriedly said, "Ali, quickly put it away." Dong Huangli silently put away the deviant flames. "Why do Mommy and the others have this kind of expression when they see my techniques? Daddy is the only one who looks happy." "Yihua, this is too dangerous. If Ali isn't able to control it properly, something might happen." Dong Huang Baiji couldn't help but mention this matter. To actually secretly teach Ali this technique. This deviant flame is an area of effect attack. If a child were to be able to control it properly, the consequences would be unimaginable. Yihua said faintly. "Ali is able to control it very well. I am very reassured. And Ali is very smart. Dong Huangli also wanted to make her mommy happy, just like how a student who scored 100 marks on a test wanted to be praised by their parents. Dong Huang Baiji wrinkled her brows and said, Ali, in the future, you can't casually use this technique, do you understand? Baiji, why can't Ali use this technique? Yehua asked gravely. My technique is bad? Dong Huang Baiji explained. Yehua, Ali is still young right now, don't teach her this kind of dangerous technique. What if someone gets hurt? Yehua placed down his chopsticks and said gravely, what's wrong with me teaching my child a powerful technique? This is also to allow Ali to have the ability to protect herself. Why can't it be used by you too? Daddy, Mommy, don't fight. Ali doesn't need to use this technique in the future. Seeing that her parents were fighting because of her, Dong Huangli hurriedly persuaded. Yehua looked at his daughter and said faintly, Ali, don't be afraid. Use it when it's time, don't let others think that we are easy to bully. Yehua, how can you teach your child like this? Dong Huang Baiji shouted out. Yehua was clearly trying to turn his child into a demon king. This was something that Dong Huang Baiji wouldn't allow. After all, Dong Huang Baiji was a big shot in the north, and her responsibility was to stabilize all of the powers in the north and prevent large-scale casualties from occurring. Her goal was not much different from Yua's bloodline, which was to maintain the stability of the common people. This was also the philosophy that Dong Huang Baiji had been instilled with since young. Dong Huang Baiji naturally hoped that her daughter would inherit the family's tradition and do more good deeds, and not do evil deeds. However, what Yehua said just now was precisely preparing to teach his daughter to become a bad girl. In actuality, Dong Huang Baiji was thinking too lightly. Yehua was preparing to teach his daughter to become a real queen, and let everyone worship her. He wasn't going to become a doctor. Alright, I don't want to argue with you two, and you two don't need to care about Ali's education. Yehua said coldly. I was originally going to eat happily, but you two just had to make me unhappy. Qinya, who had been silent the entire time, said lightly, Yehua, I feel that for the sake of Ali's education, we should discuss it properly. There's nothing to discuss. Yehua shouted out gravely. What's wrong with these two women today? Why are they going against me again? It has only been peaceful for a few days. Daddy, Mommy, you two are angry, it's fine as long as Ali is obedient. Dong Huangli was so anxious that her eyes had turned red. Big sister, brother-in-law, we can slowly discuss about the child's education. Don't be anxious, don't get angry. Qin Yutong hurriedly persuaded. Originally, I thought that the appearance of a love rival would make brother-in-law angry, but I didn't expect that the two of them would have a disagreement because of the child. This seems to be even more troublesome. As a supreme overlord, brother-in-law will definitely look at things differently. Big sister and Baiji are both kind-hearted people. How can they possibly allow their child to become a demon king? In actuality, Yehua didn't want to argue with them either. Chapter 344. What was supposed to be a joyous occasion had instantly turned sour, and the atmosphere was a little depressing. Yehua appeared to be very irritated. Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji remained silent as well. Right now, Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi were even more unwilling to anger Yehua. Dong Huangli was scared. She feared that her daddy and mommy would quarrel with each other like how they used to. After a while, Qinya suggested, Yehua, I feel that we should have a family meeting. Seconded. Dong Huang Baiji indeed wanted to talk about the issue of having a child. After all, this matter was related to the future, and thus she had to settle this matter. Yehua also felt that he had to talk about this problem properly, thus he said gravely, all right. Soon after, Qin Yutong said to Qin Yutong, Yutong, bring Zizi and Ali upstairs first. Qin Yutong nodded her head. You two can discuss it properly, as long as the family is harmonious, everything will prosper. After warning Dong Huangli, Qin Yutong went upstairs with Dong Huangli. Yi Zizi silently followed behind Dong Huangli, and Yi Zizi had a lifeless look on her face. The three sat in front of the dining table, and Yehua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. What do you guys want to say? As Dong Huangli's mother, Dong Huang Baiji took the lead and said, Yehua, can you leave the problem of Ali's education to me? As Ali's father, can't I teach him? Yehua asked gravely. Today, I will definitely let them know that my words are not to be doubted. Dong Huang Baiji wrinkled her brows. However, the things that you are teaching are not helpful to the child's growth. In fact, it might even cause Ali to walk down a path of no return. During this period of time, Qinya had been thinking for a very long time, especially the problem of her child's education. In a few months' time, I am going to give birth to my child. I have to prepare early. Yihua, how about this? Can you hand over the child's education to us? Qinya also wanted to properly discuss with Yihua, and she naturally didn't want to quarrel with Yihua. Are you saying that I can't teach children? Yihua questioned. Yihua's anger was also slowly rising, making me seem like a sinner, to the point where I am not even allowed to touch the child. Qinya said earnestly. It's fine for you to tell us those fallacious reasoning of yours, but when it comes to the child's growth, it's not good. That's right. Dong Huang Baiji answered. Bang. Yihua fiercely slammed onto the table and said coldly, how am I distorting logic? This is a world where the weak are prey to the strong. What do you want to teach your children? A weak philanthropist? At the very least, it is better than a demon that does no evil. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly. When these words fell into Yihua's ears, it was as if Yihua was scolding him in a roundabout way, because Yihua was this kind of person in the past. Enough! Yihua shouted out angrily. Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji's bodies trembled. They didn't know why Yihua suddenly got angry. This is just a discussion about children, there is nothing wrong with it. The two wives didn't refute Yihua's anger, because they didn't want to quarrel over this matter. However, they still wanted to fight for it. Qinya begged in a low voice. Yihua, can you consider it for a bit? There's no need to think about it. This matter is decided, the family meeting will end here. Yihua said coldly, then stood up and prepared to go upstairs. Dong Huang Baiji let out a deep sigh, appearing to be very dispirited. Everything about Yihua is good, just that he is too overbearing. I have to listen to him for everything, and if I don't listen to him, he will get angry. What's going on with the Xiao family? Yihua, who was preparing to leave, suddenly stopped his footsteps, then turned his head around and looked towards Qinya. What did you say? Qinya asked calmly. How did you get that money back then? Dong Huang Baiji, who was at the side, revealed a puzzled look. After all, back then, she wasn't present yet, thus she didn't know about these matters. Yihua let out a breath, then said indifferently, didn't I tell you in the past that I asked someone to go and get the money back? Just go and get the money back? Qinya asked faintly. In actuality, she was also very nervous in her heart. She didn't want Yihua to be related to Nangong Sini's death. Yihua looked at Qinya and asked gravely, Qinya, what exactly are you trying to say? Is that Nangong Sini's death related to you? Qinya asked. Her heart was in her throat. Yihua naturally remembered that Nangong Sini, then said gravely, if you have something to say, just say it, don't beat around the bush. I heard that it was your subordinate who forced Nangong Sini to death, and he is only collecting interest. Is this what you requested, or did he do it on his own? Dong Huang Baiji, who was at the side, was startled. There was actually such a thing? Yihua looked at Qinya in disbelief. What does this mean? Is she here to blame me? His anger that had originally calmed down immediately soared. That's right. It is what I requested. It is only right and proper for someone to repay their debt. Back then I gave them 3 days of time, and it was they who didn't cherish it. I am already giving them a lot of face by not killing their entire family. Yihua didn't have any intention to hide anything from Yihua. Right now he didn't want to hide anything, there was no need for him to do so. After hearing the answer, Qinya revealed a disappointed look. I didn't expect that it was really Yihua's order, and my mind was in a bit of a mess. Meanwhile, Dong Huang Baiji didn't know what to say, and thus she remained silent. Looking at Qinya's disappointed look, Yihua felt very uncomfortable in his heart as he asked, Qinya, are you blaming me? I shouldn't have treated them like that. Qinya didn't mean it like that, and she said tenderly, Yihua, although they are in the wrong, we can still talk about it. There is no need to force a child's mother to death. After hearing what Qingye said, Yihua sneered. Qingye, are you blaming me for killing the innocent? Yihua, I am not blaming you. I just hope that in the future, you can think from another perspective, and not let your emotions affect your decisions. Qingye persuaded attentively. In actuality, she just didn't want to see Yihua killing people indiscriminately, just like how Yihua was asking for a debt. If Yihua killed Xiao Yi, Qingye wouldn't have anything to say about it. However, if Yihua killed an innocent mother, Qingye would have no choice but to tell her husband not to do such a thing in the future. Qingye, you are truly too naive. If I was slightly weaker, do you think that Xiao Yi would let me off? Do you think that he would let you off? Let me tell you. He wouldn't. He would even use the same method to make me suffer. How could Qingye not know what Yihua was thinking? Qingye said faintly, Yihua, I know what you are trying to say. Let's not do those shameful things, all right? Qingye would rather see Yihua openly go and look for his enemy than to see Yihua secretly torturing his enemy using innocent people. You are saying that I am shameful. This time, Yihua was really angered by Qingye. Donghuang Baiji hurriedly said, Yihua, Qingye didn't mean it like that, you misunderstood her. Didn't your subordinate, the Black Robe, violate a sect master? Qingye didn't like Yihua being like this. It is obvious that I am in the wrong, yet I am still acting as if I am in the right. Donghuang Baiji was very astonished. Yihua's subordinate violated a sect master? The two wives looked at Yihua with a questioning gaze at the same time. Yihua's heart turned cold. In your eyes, am I that kind of person? To think that I, the supreme overlord, had to put in so much effort to save the two of you. Yihua let out an ice-cold voice and said, If I were to say that they are currently in love with each other, would you believe me? The two wives didn't say anything. It was clear that they didn't believe him. At this moment, Yihua's heart seemed to have been deeply pierced by the two women in front of him. As wives, they don't even believe in their husband's words. Just how disappointing is this? Chapter 345. Yihua sat on the chair, and a vicious aura was being emitted out from his body. This caused Qingye and Donghuang Baiji to be very worried, but there was nothing they could do. No matter what, I have to make Yihua change a little and stop treating human life as a game. Right now, Yihua was very disappointed in Qingye and Donghuang Baiji, extremely disappointed. As my wife, not only did they not do their duty well, they even helped an outsider to reprimand me? They didn't even believe his words. This was absolutely intolerable. Don't expect me to put on a show again. That's absolutely impossible. Last time, I was at fault, and in order to redeem myself, I admitted it. But this time, don't even think about it. The three of them sat in the hall and did not speak, and Yihua was smoking one cigarette after another. After quite a while, space distorted, and Death Mage and Sun Fong appeared at the scene. Jijiji Royal Translator, Boss. Sun Fong also greeted respectfully, Boss. Wei Chong had already instructed them to skip the honorific and just call him Boss. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji looked towards the Black Robe. They never expected that the Black Robe would actually be a skeleton. His hair stood on end. Dare I ask, how did a skeleton humiliate the beauty beside him? Both Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were stupefied. Go ahead and ask. Yihua said coldly. Sun Fong said to the two ladies, Madams, I am Sun Fong, the previous sect master of Cloud Sect. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were very puzzled. Why would such a beautiful woman be on good terms with a skeleton? This isn't an act, right? Madams, you can ask me if you have any questions. It needs to type to speak, so it's rather slow, Sun Fong said softly. Death Mage took out his phone and typed a few words, then showed his phone. I can't talk. This time, the two women were even more shocked. A skeleton that couldn't speak. How could there be such a woman? What was wrong with this world? Qingye looked towards the angry Yihua, and felt that her brain wasn't enough to process what was going on. Sun Fong, did he violate you before? Qingye asked curiously. Sun Fong nodded. Yes. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's expression immediately changed. However, Sun Fong continued. However, I did it voluntarily. The two girls were embarrassed. Seeing the two madams' confusion, Sun Fong naturally knew that back in the Ing family, there were many people who had the same question. Why did such a beautiful person end up with a skeleton? Sun Fong actually wanted to say that the little skeleton's body was tough, and she couldn't beat it in any way. The two madams must be very puzzled. Actually, I don't know why I like skeletons either. He doesn't even have a single piece of meat on his body. Even when I hug him, he's stiff. But it can make me laugh and make me feel better. Isn't this the feeling that we women have always wanted? Love knows no race. Although it sometimes angers me, it can quickly coax me. I still have to praise it for this. Looking at the blissful smile on Sun Fong's face, the two women felt that she wasn't lying, but they still couldn't believe it. Look at others, then look at yourselves. Yi Hua, who was sitting at the side, said coldly, "How good is my subordinate's wife? My subordinate's wife and my subordinate's wife are so loving and have never quarreled with each other. Looking at my own wife, I really can't compare her with my subordinate's wife." All right, regarding this matter, Qingye felt that she had misunderstood Yi Hua. She finally let out a sigh of relief in her heart. After all, Yi Hua didn't help the evildoer. However, Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, said with a taut face, "Yi Hua, I have always wanted to ask you, how did you get those things in the storage room?" Last time, when Donghuang Baiji saw those things, she was very shocked. However, in the end, she didn't ask about it anymore. During this period of time, she had been too sweet and had forgotten about it. Now that she remembered about it, she decided to ask about it. Yi Hua pointed at Death Mage. He sent them over. Donghuang Baiji looked towards Death Mage and asked, "How did you get those betrothal gifts?" Death Mage was very honest. After all, it was the madam who asked about it. Death Mage typed on his phone, and soon after his phone lit up. 2 words. Snatched. After taking a look, Yi Hua said faintly, "Well snatched." GGG Imperial Translation. Thank you, Your Honor, for your praise. Donghuang Baiji's face immediately sunk as she asked, "Where is he?" Death Mage continued typing. It was still 2 words. Killed. Yi Hua said faintly, "Well killed. My husband's men killed my subordinates?" My husband was still cheering at the side. Donghuang Baiji shouted out, "Yi Hua, aren't you going to explain yourself?" Yi Hua stood up and looked at Donghuang Baiji. "What do you want me to explain? Without my permission, you actually went to send betrothal gifts. Fortunately, my subordinates coincidentally snatched the betrothal gifts. If not, you would have given me a green hat." After hearing what Yi Hua said, Donghuang Baiji was actually speechless. However, she still felt uncomfortable in her heart. "But your subordinates killed my subordinates. Baiji, if you didn't go and send betrothal gifts, would your subordinates have died? Could it be that you want my subordinates to take the blame?" Yi Hua shouted out coldly. He didn't look like a madam at all. Donghuang Baiji stared at Yi Hua, seemingly wanting Yi Hua to give her an explanation. "In any case, I am the Empress of Voidless Realm. Since my subordinates died in vain, I should at least seek justice for them, right?" In actuality, if Yi Hua were to apologize right now, everything would be fine. With just a bit of cowardice, the 2 beauties would be in his arms again. However, this time Yi Hua wouldn't pamper them anymore. "Baiji, what kind of expression is that? Could it be that you want me to punish my subordinates?" Yi Hua shouted out sternly. "Shouldn't it be?" Donghuang Baiji asked back. Yi Hua could be considered to be quite angered by the 2 women today. He said gravely, "Qingye Baiji, let me tell the 2 of you, that is impossible. There is no need for me, Yi Hua, to ask the 2 of you what I do." "You." Donghuang Baiji was also angered by Yi Hua. Qingye pulled onto Donghuang Baiji and said lightly to Yi Hua, "Yi Hua, can we both calm down for a bit?" "Calm down? I will never calm down in my entire life. I will do whatever I have to do." Seeing that Yi Hua's emotions were very great, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji discussed with each other in a low voice. In the end, Qingye said, "Yi Hua, Baiji and I will go to Voidless Realm to stay for a period of time. You should properly think about it. After thinking it through, come to Voidless Realm and look for us." Yi Hua was angered to the point that he laughed. "You 2 want to leave again? You two are truly treating my doting as donkey's liver and lungs. Yihua shouted out coldly. Fine. All of you scram. Do you all really think that I will die without the two of you? Seeing Yihua acting like this, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji couldn't bear to see Yihua acting like this. After all, Yihua had sacrificed a lot for them. However, Yihua truly had a lot of bad habits. For the sake of the future, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji felt that there was a need for Yihua to properly think about it. Donghuang Baiji said calmly, Yihua, I will bring Ali back to Voidless Realm first. After you think it through, come and bring us back. Yihua, there are actually a lot of things that can be properly solved. Qingye persuaded tenderly. Yihua stamped on the cigarette butt and said gravely, Qingye, Baiji, I will prove to the two of you that those theories of yours are completely bullsh*t. Seeing that Yihua was still acting like this, the two women let out a sigh, then disappeared from the hall. Seeing that his wives had disappeared, Yihua picked up the wine bottle and smashed it onto the ground. Those two foolish women really left. Chapter 346. Death Mage and Sun Fang also left silently. Right now, His Honor's mood is definitely not good. I heard that His Honor would threaten his subordinates to break up with him for no reason at all. Right now, His Honor is not having a good time. And His Honor will definitely not let this subordinate have a good time. Brother-in-law, Ali was taken away by her mother. Qin Yutong suddenly ran over. Got it, do as you wish. Yihua shouted out gravely. That what about my big sister? Qin Yutong asked weakly. All of them ran away from home. After finished speaking, Yihua lit a cigarette and went upstairs. Sitting on the sofa in the office, Yihua decided on one thing. I'm going to let them see that the so-called mercy is actually just a joke. In actuality, Yihua should be rejoicing. This was only a small part of the secret that was discovered by Qingye. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji would never say that they would wait for you. However, that was no longer important. Yihua extinguished the cigarette butt, and his gaze was deep and eerie. I, the Supreme Overlord, want you all to beg me to come back. I will also let you know that there is no such thing as mercy in this world. With the caress of the large hand, the office began to distort and gradually turned into another scene. No one knew when the sofa had turned into a throne, but this was a throne piled up with skeletons. Among them were human skulls, huge orc skulls, rare elven skulls, and even dragon skulls. All the skulls were intertwined together, forming a terrifying and sinister throne. Right now, Yihua had already shed off his physical body and revealed his most primitive state. However, very quickly, a set of 7-colored divine light armor materialized on his body. The surrounding darkness was lit up by the divine light. Multicolored light lingered around the darkness. Raging flames surged and rolled. And waves of overflowing aura seemed as if it was going to devour the entire world. Meanwhile, the palace that was illuminated by the rainbow divine light also revealed its original appearance. This was Yihua's former meeting hall. The long passageway was so dark that the end couldn't be seen. The floor was covered with a bright red carpet made from the bodies of young crystal dragons. This long tunnel had basically slaughtered the entire crystal dragon race. As for the huge pillar, it was the body of the ancient anaconda that had been placed there after it had been petrified. As for those innumerable pillars, it was unknown how many ancient giant pythons had died. The entire palace was built with all kinds of strange corpses. It exuded a cold and gloomy aura. If a normal person came here, they would definitely be scared to death. Because even if these divine beasts were dead, their power still remained. Yihua was sitting on the throne of skeletons, and his index finger was tapping on the skull of an elf. If he did not remember wrongly, this skull was the skull of an elf queen. Weichong. Ligu. Absolute heaven. Yizizi. Yihua shouted gravely. Hearing that His Honor had summoned them with a different tone, the 7 deadly sins did not dare to be negligent in the slightest, and all of them rushed over. This time, His Honor was no longer cleaning the toilet in the bar. Instead, His Honor had returned to the royal palace. This caused the hearts of His Honor's 4 subordinates to sink. This time His Honor is truly angry. Subordinates, pay respect to your honor. The 7 deadly sins did not dare to be careless in the slightest as they respectfully greeted Yi Hua, who was seated on the throne. The evil aura that was being emitted out from Yi Hua's body unconsciously, even though it was a god beast that had already died. Yi Hua still seemed to be afraid of Yi Hua. "Your Honor, please quell your anger." The 4 men hurriedly kneeled onto the ground. "For His Honor to be angry, it is definitely our fault," Yi Hua slowly said. "I had thought that I would be able to enjoy my life for a few days, but it seems like it was still an extravagant hope." The 4 men remained silent. After a long while, Wei Chang said coldly, "Xiao family has to take full responsibility for this matter. If Your Honor allows it, subordinate will go and exterminate the entire Xiao family right now and offer their heads to Your Honor." Yi Hua looked at Wei Chang, then said gravely, "No. This time, my target is not Xiao family, but Voidless Realm." The 7 deadly sins were startled, not understanding what His Honor meant. "Your Honor, Madame Donghuang is the Empress of Voidless Realm, and Your Honor's target is Voidless Realm?" Zhu Tian still didn't know what was going on, and he was still puzzled. Lai Gu and Yi Zizi didn't say anything, fearing that they would say something wrong. Yi Hua snorted coldly. Zhu Tian immediately bowed down to express his apology. "The 2 madams still don't know how deep the water in this world is. If that's the case, I will give them a good lesson." Yi Hua's tone was just like a cold spring from hell, causing one's hair to stand on end. "Originally, I planned to let the North and South fight against each other, but after the South suffered disastrous losses, I have a new plan." The eyes of the 4 men lit up, especially Yi Zizi. Yi Hua said coldly, "I want all of the powers in the North to attack Voidless Realm willingly." Lai Gu hurriedly said, "Your Honor, are we going to show off our acting skills on stage again?" "No. This time, we will not move." The 4 men were immediately stupefied, not knowing what His Honor was trying to do. "I want to let them know a principle, no matter how good they are to anyone, for their own benefit. Benevolence is nothing." Zhu Tian understood what His Honor meant. The 2 madams are definitely kind-hearted, and they angered His Honor. Thus, His Honor wants to teach the 2 madams a lesson, and let them understand the truth of blood. "Your Honor, leave this matter to subordinate." Zhu Tian bowed down and said. He was willing to be the leader this time. With Zhu Tian being the leader, Yi Hua was rather at ease. "Zhu Tian, go ahead and do it. Let them know what cruelty is, what betrayal is, what the human heart is." Subordinate understands. Zhu Tian decided that this time, he will definitely do it beautifully and make His Honor satisfied. Yi Hua said faintly, "Let's start with Xiao family. I want Qinya to take the initiative to kill everyone in Xiao family. Also, go and investigate the case of Dongfang family from 100 years ago. I want to see how many people they can protect." This time, Yi Hua was being serious. "Women cannot be spoiled too much. If I spoil them too much, they will go to heaven." This time, Yi Hua's intention was very simple, but it was very difficult to carry it out. For example, if I want Qinya to take the initiative to slaughter Xiao family, I will need a reason. This time, not only was this a lesson for the 2 wives, it was also a test for Yi Hua himself. "Subordinate will obey Your Honor's command." Yi Hua slowly stood up then warned, "Don't treat them as your madams. Just do what you need to do. I will not allow them to throw a tantrum anymore." "Yes. If they can't even pass such a small obstacle, they aren't worthy to be your madams." After finished speaking, Yi Hua disappeared from the throne. After Yi Hua left, the 4 men looked at each other. In the past, they were enemies, and this time, the enemies are indeed the 2 madams. Furthermore, to let the 2 madams have a taste of all kinds of things, the difficulty is not just a small one. "I still have to go to school tomorrow. I will be going back to sleep." After speaking, Yi Zizi disappeared. Lai Gu let out a sigh. His Honor is angry this time. "That's right, this time, the difficulty is even greater than acting." Wei Chang sighed. Zhu Tian's expression didn't have much fluctuation as he said indifferently, "His Honor's way of doing things is correct. The 2 madams' benevolence is the same as being cruel to themselves. After all, we don't need merciful madams." Chapter 347. Wei Chang and Lai Gu nodded their heads, expressing that they agreed with Wei Chang's viewpoint. Alright, you two have a nice chat. I'll go back and be a warrior on the bed. Let me know if you make any big moves. After speaking, Lai Gu also disappeared from the palace hall. It feels so good to return to this familiar place. This smell of blood is really addicting, causing me to feel restless. Only Wei Chang and Absolute Heaven remained in the empty hall. Let me know if you need any manpower. Lai Gu was very generous. Recently, the demons and ghosts in Long and City were more or less cleared out by his underlings, and the two of them were extremely bored. Absolute Heaven did not stand on ceremony. All right. Your honor's mission this time around is rather difficult. You have to pay attention to it. Wei Chang couldn't help but remind Yi Hua. Absolute Heaven also knew how difficult this matter was. Relax. Have you all forgotten what I used to do? Wei Chang laughed lightly. Thinking about it, Absolute Heaven had brought despair to mankind in the past. Only this time his target had changed to the two madams. This time his honor is truly heartless. I hope that the two madams will be able to hold on. Alright, I'll be leaving first. I still have lessons to teach tomorrow, Zhu Tian said indifferently. Lai Gu teased. There should be a lot of beauties in Zijin University. Aren't you going to consider? I'm not interested in women. After finished speaking, Zhu Tian left. This cold and detached temperament of his was even deeper than Yi Hua's. He was truly a cold and aloof Prince Charming. Wei Chang smiled. In the past, I wasn't interested in women, but after coming into contact with Tang Wei, I changed my mind. Right now, Yi Hua was standing beside the window and smoking a cigarette. Looking at the night sky of Long and City, his gaze was emitting out coldness. Brother-in-law? Qing Yutong knocked on the door and called out lightly. Yi Hua silently took a look at his sister-in-law, then turned his gaze towards the night sky. Qing Yutong pursed her lips, seemingly feeling that her brother-in-law had returned to his original state. During this period of time, brother-in-law had finally changed a little. He would even smile from time to time. It would probably be hard to see brother-in-law smile in the future. Brother-in-law, why don't you tell my sister and Baiji about your identity? They will understand. Qing Yutong naturally didn't want to see her big sister and brother-in-law fall out. After all, they were all a family. What was there to quarrel about? Even if there was a disagreement, wouldn't it be fine as long as everyone took a step back? Yi Hua said coldly. Identity? Why not tell them? If I were to bring the two of them out, it would simply be a disgrace. Aren't you affected by your bloodline? The influence of my bloodline? Even if she doesn't have this bloodline, she's still the same. She's soft-hearted. Yi Hua flicked away the cigarette but that was in his hand, then sat down on the sofa. Coldness filled the space between Yi Hua's brows. This time, I will not let them off. Qing Yutong sat at Yi Hua's side and said attentively, in the past, Big Sister has never come into contact with these things, and I only know how to do business. Only after following brother-in-law did I come to know of some things. There has to be a process, right? I'm giving them the process right now. It will be a very unforgettable process. Qing Yutong also didn't want her big sister to suffer a lot of pain. Thus Qing Yutong pulled onto her brother-in-law's arm and said coquettishly, Brother-in-law, big sister still loves you. You have to be magnanimous. Just punish her a little and it will be fine. Turning his head around, Yi Hua looked at his sister-in-law and said gravely, Do you also want to experience the process? Oh, I forgot to turn off my computer. Brother-in-law, you should rest early and pretend that I didn't say anything. After finished speaking, Qing Yutong slipped away. Big sister, don't blame this little sister. This little sister has already pleaded for leniency for you, just that this time, you really angered brother-in-law. However, Qing Yutong also knew that brother-in-law wouldn't hurt big sister too much. He just wanted big sister to understand some principles, that's all. Although it was a bit cruel, it was still beneficial to big sister. If Qingya was half as sensible as his little sister, Yi Hua wouldn't be so troubled. Looking at his sister-in-law leaving, Yi Hua leaned on the sofa and pondered. I have to let Qingya and Baiji understand that their benevolence will only be used by their enemies. Wei Chang. Yi Hua called out gravely. Very quickly, Wei Chang's figure appeared in the office. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Release the control over Xiao family. Although Wei Chong was puzzled, he didn't dare to ask too much. Understood. Subordinate will go and pass on the message right away. After Wei Chong left, Yihua lit up another cigarette, and his black pupils became deep. Xiao family is making use of your kindness, then take a look at Xiao family's true colors. During these few days, Xiao Yi didn't sleep well, fearing that something would happen. Sitting in the pavilion in the courtyard, Xiao Yi was wearing high-end silk pajamas and drinking tea. Brother Xiao, you're not asleep yet? Xu Nan leisurely walked over and stood behind Xiao Yi, massaging her husband. Xiao Yi sighed. Is doing this right or wrong? Brother Xiao, things have already come to this. Why are you still thinking about right and wrong? Xu Nan said gently. One must know that Yihua felt that Xiao family was somewhat useful, and thus, Yihua decided to make use of Xiao family. This meant that Xiao family had obtained Yihua's protection. To be able to obtain the protection of a supreme being was such a great honor. Chapter 348. Sigh. Donghuang Baiji let out a deep sigh, then said, Qinya, are we being too impulsive? Qinya was very confused. Before I left, I already told Yihua to come and find me, and I will definitely go back, but it has already been so long, and he still hasn't come back. Let's wait a while more. Yihua can't let go of his face. Another 2 hours passed by, and it was already midnight. Dong Huangli was already sleeping in her mother's embrace. Meanwhile, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were still waiting foolishly. Qinya, you understand Yihua a bit. Why isn't he coming yet? Donghuang Baiji asked. When I found out that my subordinate was killed by Yihua's subordinate, I was furious, and Yihua didn't apologize to me at all. Now that I think about it, I am also in the wrong. Who asked me to send the betrothal gift out of anger? If the betrothal gift really arrived, wouldn't I be finished? That was why Donghuang Baiji felt depressed. If Yihua didn't come and find me, I wouldn't be able to get out of this embarrassing situation. Qinya sighed lightly. Yihua is really angry this time. Then what should we do? Donghuang Baiji cried out in surprise. Based on my understanding of Yihua, he is definitely thinking of a way to let us go back by ourselves. Qinya understood Yihua's personality, and she guessed correctly. Donghuang Baiji pouted her mouth. I won't go back unless he comes and picks me up. He is also sure that we won't go back by ourselves, and he will definitely think of a way. Qinya laughed bitterly. We are both your wives, can't you even coax us? Think of what way? Qinya said. Do you know why Xiao family suddenly withdrew from the aristocratic family selection? Why? That was arranged by Yihua. Donghuang Baiji was startled. Why would Yihua interfere in Xiao family's matter? I also don't know what he is playing at. Qinya let out a breath and stood up. Oh right, I just remembered, that morning, Yihua even asked me to approve Tang family's selection. Donghuang Baiji suddenly recalled what happened that morning. This made Qinya recall the auction that night. Was it Yihua who asked you to approve Tang family's selection? That's right. That morning, Yihua had said it to me. I felt that it was just a small matter, so I went along with what he said. Donghuang Baiji wrinkled her brows, feeling that Yihua was secretly planning something. Not only did the Xiao clan withdraw, but they also arranged for the Tang clan to intervene. The two women were confused. Qinya, Yihua couldn't be setting up a trap, right? Donghuang Baiji asked gravely. However, there has to be a reason for all of this, right? You are the empress, and furthermore, you are his wife, and you are the one who is in charge of the entire north. There is no need for him to do all of this. Qinya was completely clueless about what Yihua was trying to do. Donghuang Baiji guessed. Yihua likes to stay at home, and he doesn't seem to be someone who is obsessed with power. However, why would he interfere in this aristocratic family's election? In the past, that subordinate of Yihua had also interfered with the South's matters, and it was precisely the fight over the ancient godly item. On that day, I was camping with Yihua. Now that I think about it, it seems like Yihua had an ulterior motive. The more Qinya thought about it, the more she felt that it was strange. Qinya, you are saying that not only did Yihua interfere with the north, He also interfered with the South? Then, are the recent events that happened in the South related to Yihua? Donghuang Baiji didn't dare to believe it. The more she continued to speculate, the more she felt that Yihua was a mystery. Qingye shook her head. I don't know. Then what if it is true? Donghuang Baiji's hypothesis caused Qingye to be a bit confused. After a long while, Qingye said gravely, if it was really done by Yihua, I will slowly change him, and I will not leave him. What about you? Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly. Ali is already so big, and it wasn't easy for me to find my daddy. I will naturally not leave him either. The two women looked at each other and smiled. For them, Yihua was even willing to give up his life, and they would naturally not leave him either. Husbands have to be slowly taught. Yihua expressed that he wouldn't take the blame. However, Zhu Tian was, after all, Yihua's subordinate, and it was impossible for him to not take the blame for those family extermination massacres. Then how are we going to change Yihua's personality? At the very least, we have to get rid of those crooked principles. Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. I reckon that Yihua wants to prove those crooked principles, and that's why he will start with those families. What we have to do is to let Yihua know that this world isn't like what he thinks it is. Although there are bad people in this world, most of them are still good people. Donghuang Baiji's eyes shone. Qingye, are you saying that the two of us should join hands to deal with Yihua? Qingye smiled. Aren't you very excited? A bit. What if we lose? If we lose, we will obediently go home and beg for forgiveness. If we win, Yihua will become an obedient baby in the future. Donghuang Baiji smiled sweetly, and immediately became incomparably beautiful. I like to see Yihua become an obedient baby. I like it too. The two wives were like-minded, and they were prepared to turn a demon king into an obedient baby. One couldn't help but admire their courage. Furthermore, their thinking was too simple. Qingye, who only knew how to fight in a business war, and the Empress who had never been through any big storms, how could they possibly be Yihua's opponent? After all, Yihua was someone who had been through hundreds of battles, a man who had rolled around in piles of corpses. This was a contest between husband and wife, and the entire north was the chessboard. Looking at the current situation, Donghuang Baiji had the upper hand. After all, she was the Empress of Voidless Realm, and if Yihua wanted to get involved, he would have to start from his family. Donghuang Baiji would be able to obtain the information in time, and then take action. And according to Donghuang Baiji's guess, Yihua was preparing to start from Tang family. If Yihua were to know of Donghuang Baiji's guess, he would definitely shout out loud at Donghuang Baiji. How could I be so obvious? Even if I were to sit at home and not do anything, I would still be able to teach the two of you a lesson. On this night, Yihua was destined to hug his quilt and sleep. If I had known that this would be the case, I would have slept with Donghuang Baiji and let her know how formidable I am. If you two have the ability, don't come back. This time, I will definitely let them see how formidable I am. After that, obediently admit their wrongs and serve me well. And maybe, I will let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, I will not let you two have a good time. Zijin City was the center of China, and Zijin University had a very long history. Zijin University was also very famous in the world. Zijin University was a university that all students yearned to attend, and Zijin University attracted a lot of international students. In the morning, the campus was filled with the fragrance of fresh flowers, and the green grass was like a cushion. Everywhere was filled with the fragrance of flowers, and one after another, modern school buildings rose from the ground. Youthful and energetic university students were walking on the tree-shaded path with a happy smile on their faces. This kind of carefree university life would end after they graduate, and at that time, despair would begin. Quick, quick, look over there, beauties! A freshman shouted out while pointing at two girls that were not far away from them. Chapter 349. Why does that girl look so weak? I really want to go and protect her. The freshman sighed. This was the first time he had seen such a girl, and he couldn't help but feel sorry for her. There are many people who want to protect her. You are not the only one. The senior said disdainfully. Not only these two were whispering, but other students were also discussing. This girl had a natural desire to be protected, and they couldn't bear to see her get hurt. This person was Dongfangyu, and next to her was her best friend, Song Xiaoxiao. Compared to Dongfangyu, Song Xiaoxiao wasn't so outstanding, but beside a beauty, there would always be green leaves. It wasn't that Song Xiaoxiao wasn't beautiful, but she was inferior. Of course, the relationship between the two was very good, like sisters. Our school hired a super cold professor. Song Xiaoxiao held Dongfangyu's arm and laughed exaggeratedly, even gesturing with her hands. Dongfangyu was thinking about things and didn't hear what Song Xiaoxiao said. It's the open class of the Cold Prince Charming. Let's go early and get a seat. I heard that the class of the Cold Prince Charming is full of women. Song Xiaoxiao's face was full of infatuation. These days, she went late and didn't even get a seat. She could only see the elegant demeanor of the Prince Charming on the school forum. So cold, so cool. Dongfangyu still didn't respond, looking very heavy. What are you thinking about? Song Xiaoxiao shook Dongfangyu and said. Dongfangyu came back to her senses and smiled. Oh, nothing. Why did you become stupid after the summer vacation? I'll take you to see handsome men. I heard that looking at handsome men can stimulate brain cells and achieve the goal of longevity. Dongfangyu said softly. I'm not going, you go. This summer vacation was a nightmare for Dongfangyu. She was sold by her mother to the Bai family, and was even insulted by Bai Qi. Only by returning to this school could she feel a little safer. Listening to Dongfangyu's tone, Song Xiaoxiao was depressed. She had a loud voice and Dongfangyu's voice was very low and soft. Even if they were quarreling, she would use such a tone. But it was this that would arouse the desire of men to protect her. Come with me. I'm afraid I'll look ugly if I go alone, Song Xiaoxiao pleaded. She seemed to be saying that if he didn't come with her, she would cry. Looking at her friend's pleading, Dongfangyu couldn't bear to refuse. She was such a girl. Even if she was hurt, she didn't want to see others get hurt. Her mother sold her to the Bai family, but she didn't say anything. All right. Dongfangyu chuckled. That's great. Let's run. Otherwise, we won't be able to get a seat. With that, Song Xiaoxiao pulled Dongfangyu and ran. Immediately, the boys drooled as they watched. This beautiful lady was really exciting when she ran. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, and it made people's hearts skip a beat. Especially that thing that was moving up and down. I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. Litly, slow down. Dongfangyu's face turned red after jogging for a while. Her weak body couldn't keep up. They didn't stop until they reached the classroom door. Fortunately, we ran fast, or else there wouldn't be any seats left. Song Xiaoxiao patted her chest, while Dongfangyu had a helpless expression. Dongfangyu was not interested in handsome guys, and only studying could make her forget many things. The spacious classroom's occupancy rate had reached 70%, and there was still half an hour before the class started. Just as the two were about to sit down, a gorgeous girl frowned and shouted, "There's someone here." Song Xiaoxiao wasn't like Dongfangyu. "There's no one here. You're clearly taking up a seat." "That's right. I'm taking up a seat. What can you do?" Dongfangyu pulled Song Xiaoxiao and said softly, "Let's sit at the side." Song Xiaoxiao glared at the girl and sat at the side with Dongfangyu. The seat just now was in the middle, and the view was very good. Suddenly, the sound of high heels rang out. Everyone couldn't help but look back. It turned out to be the campus belle, Guan Yanxin. This woman had the height of a model. She had fair skin and a hot figure. She wore a tight red dress that seemed to be specially worn. Her arrogance was like that of an empress. Some of the freshmen were whispering. I heard that this Guan Yanxin's background is very deep. I heard it when I first came to school. It said that those who provoked her all dropped out. Lower your voice, don't let others hear you. If not, you won't have a good ending. Guan Yanxin could be seen sitting at the seat just now, and the beautiful girl beside her seemed to be her attendant. TSK. What are you being arrogant for? Song Xiaoxiao pouted her mouth. Dongfangyu said softly, "All right, don't be angry anymore." Song Xiaoxiao could only sulk. From this angle, she could only see her Adonis's side view. Tens of minutes later, the aloof Adonis finally arrived. Zhu Tian could be seen wearing a pure white suit. His handsome hairstyle matched with a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. Adding on the ice-cold aura that was being emitted from his entire body, it caused the students to go crazy. Walking into the classroom, Zhu Tian coldly swept his gaze across the classroom. As expected, all of the students are females. Why didn't I realize that I have such allure in the past? When the students saw that Zhu Tian had arrived, everyone in the classroom gasped, as if they were about to orgasm. As for Zhu Tian, he didn't feel the slightest bit of emotion as he slowly walked towards the rostrum. Not only did the girls not feel disgusted by his actions, they instead adored him even more. While looking at the group of girls, Zhu Tian didn't want to talk nonsense. After all, he had been very busy recently, and he had to make a series of plans for his honors mission. Do you know what you all came here to learn today? Zhu Tian placed his hands behind his back and asked. This action of his caused the girls to become dumbfounded. Song Xiaoxiao raised both of her fists and said infatuatedly, "So handsome, so handsome." Dongfang Yu'er remained unmoved. She only wanted to listen to the content of the lecture. Guan Yanxin appeared calm, but her gaze carried a strong sense of dominance, as if she wanted to train this man into a kitten. The fangirls that were present were all stupefied. How could they hear anything else? You speak. Zhu Tian pointed at Guan Yanxin and said. Guan Yanxin slowly stood up. Her graceful posture showed that she had a good upbringing. I came to see you, Professor. Guan Yanxin was very daring and directly started flirting with Zhu Tian. The fangirls all had a look of disdain on their faces. Shameless, you actually dare to seduce our aloof Adonis. Zhu Tian took a look at Guan Yanxin, then indicated for her to sit down. Afterward he pointed at Dongfang Yu'er and asked, What are you doing here? Even though he was clearly asking Dongfang Yu'er, Song Xiaoxiao who was at the side was extremely excited. Dongfang Yu'er stood up and said tenderly, I am here to listen to a lecture. Everyone in the classroom sighed. Even a beauty like Guan Yanxin came here for the professor. Yet you said that you are here to listen to a lecture. Are you even a woman? Chapter 350. Zhu Tian nodded. The latter slowly sat down, not feeling that Zhu Tian was handsome at all. What is hypnosis in your eyes? Zhu Tian asked indifferently. A girl shouted, Professor, I'm willing to be hypnotized by you and then do illegal things to me. TSK, TSK, TSK. This was even more daring. The audience sighed. This shamelessness had reached a certain level. Zhu Tian was not angry and said indifferently, Hypnosis is a science. For example, you were all hypnotized by me, but you didn't know it. Zhu Tian had learned very quickly these few days. He immediately stirred up the atmosphere and changed the topic of looking at handsome guys to hypnosis. Of course, the fans did not believe it. Zhu Tian looked at Guan Yanxin and said indifferently, Do you believe it? No. Guan Yanxin shook her head. Zhu Tian then looked at Dongfang Yu'er. What about you? Dongfang Yu'er shook her head. The two of you come on stage. Dongfang Yu'er and Guan Yanxin were puzzled, but they still stood up and went on stage. It was rare to see two school beauties going on stage at the same time. Professor, are you trying to hypnotize me? Guan Yanxin was quite open, while Dongfang Yu'er was much quieter. Zhu Tian did not look at Guan Yanxin but looked at the students. As I said, they have already been hypnotized by me, but they just don't know it. Professor, don't just say no. That's right, at least let us two school beauties perform. How about a girl kiss? We'll believe it then. Zhu Tian ignored them and said to Dongfang Yu'er and Guan Yanxin, Lift up your hair. The two campus belles flipped up their hair, and their expressions were normal. It couldn't be any more normal. Professor Zhu, this is too fake. A middle-aged man walked toward the podium. He was also a hypnosis professor, but no one attended his class. Zhu Tian's class was full every day, so he wanted to teach him a lesson. Zhu Tian said indifferently, Professor Liu, what can I do for you? I don't dare to teach, I just don't want to see the students being deceived, Professor Lu said loudly, as if he wanted to expose the fact that Zhu Tian was a liar. Zhu Tian did not care and said indifferently, "How do you want to prove that I am a liar?" "Naturally, by hypnosis." Professor Lu was full of confidence. "Sure." Seeing that Zhu Tian had agreed, Professor Lu looked at the two campus bells. They were really beautiful. This Professor Zhu really knew how to play. He didn't call others campus bells and only called them campus bells. If they were hypnotized, he would be able to touch them a few times. Wouldn't that be great? "They've already been hypnotized by me. You should find them from outside the classroom." Professor Lu was amused by this sentence. This is the reaction after being hypnotized? You should go lie to elementary school students. "Come here." Zhu Tian crooked his finger at the two school beauties. Dongfang Yuan and Guan Yanxin walked behind Zhu Tian, and Zhu Tian said indifferently, "Help me massage my back." Sure enough, the two campus bells began to massage his back. "All right, stand over there again." Throughout the entire process, the two campus bells didn't have any unusual reactions. It couldn't be more normal. "Oh, how much did you pay him?" Professor Lu did not believe in such hypnosis. "Since you don't believe me, you can try." "I'll give it a try." With that said, Professor Lu walked up to the stage, took out a pocket watch, and asked the two campus bells to lie down. "Relax. Relax your body and close your eyes." Zhu Tian said indifferently, "He's taking advantage of you too." Just as he finished speaking, the two campus bells opened their eyes and called out, "Papa! Old pervert! Smelly pervert!" With that said, the two campus bells ran down the stage, and the fangirls pointed at Professor Lu and scolded him. "Report him. He actually used hypnosis to take advantage of students." "That's right, I saw this old pervert groping the campus bells." Professor Lu was dumbfounded. He had only said one sentence just now. He didn't do anything at all. "Professor Lu, I already said that they were all hypnotized by me." Zhu Tian coldly stared at the old man in front of him. If it was in the past, he would have killed him long ago. Just you wait." With that said, Professor Lu ran away. From now on, he would be labeled as an old pervert. Guan Yanxin said to Zhu Tian, "Professor Zhu, you entered my body just now. You have to take responsibility." When this was said, a commotion immediately broke out. Song Xiaoxiao said softly, If that's the case, Professor Zhu also entered your body just now." "Of course not," Dongfang Yuer said with a red face. "I really envy you girls who have your bodies entered by Professor Zhu. I also want to have my body entered." The class quickly ended with Zhu Tian's explanation. Dongfang Yuer pulled Song Xiaoxiao, who was reluctant to leave, and left. As for Guan Yanxin, she walked towards Zhu Tian and said tenderly, "Professor Zhu, are you free tonight?" "I'm not free." Guan Yanxin blocked Zhu Tian's path and said tenderly, "Professor Zhu, you have already entered my body just now. How can you be so ruthless? Moreover, there is a banquet tonight. I want you to be my male companion." Guan Yanxin said tenderly. That tone of hers was filled with endless temptation. Zhu Tian asked, "Family gathering?" Seems like Professor Zhu is also an insider. Guan Yanxin was startled for a moment. Then she smiled and said, "All right, come and pick me up tonight." With that, Zhu Tian left. Looking at Zhu Tian's indifferent aura, Guan Yanxin licked her red lips. She liked this kind of indifferent man. Only conquering him would give her a thrill. Zhu Tian was currently staying in the teacher's dormitory. After returning, he would report this news to the higher-ups. Yihua only had one request, and that was to not let them get hold of any information that could be used against him. Even if they knew that he was playing tricks on them, they wouldn't have any evidence to prove it. Zhu Tian expressed that he understood. At night, a red Ferrari stopped outside of the school. Zhu Tian, who was still wearing a white suit, opened the car door and sat inside. The person who was driving the car was precisely Guan Yanxin. A woman who was in the middle of puberty looked especially alluring. Every inch of her skin was emitting out a fragrance. However, Zhu Tian was not moved at all. If it wasn't for him needing a logical identity, he wouldn't even be bothered to sit here. Professor Ju, you are so handsome. Guan Yanxin was wearing a V-neck gown. Her deep cleavage was breathtaking. Ju Tian said faintly, let's go. I like men like you. Guan Yanxin teased, then stepped on the accelerator. The engine roared, and the sound of the engine resounded throughout the street. International Hotel was Zijin City's iconic building. It was formed by two buildings alternating, forming a triangular shape. The design concept of the hotel was rather innovative. After arriving at the entrance of the hotel, a manager ran over and shouted, Miss Guan! Park the car. Guan Yanxin threw the car key into the manager's embrace, and the manager caught the car key hurriedly and almost dropped it onto the ground. Ju Tian got off the car and rubbed his eyes. This Guan Yanxin doesn't seem to be that simple. Chapter 351. That's right. What does your family do for a living? If it wasn't for the fact that I have to fulfill his honor's order, I really want to kill this woman. Kiss me and I'll tell you. If it were any other man, they would have directly pounced on her. However, Ju Tian felt that this was an insult to him. However, this woman was still of some use to him, so he put his arm around her slender waist. Tell me. Annoying, there are so many people here. Guan Yanxin did not expect Ju Tian to suddenly make such a move, and was a little embarrassed. Although Guan Yanxin was strong-minded, she would not go to the extent of messing around. Even now, she did not have a boyfriend. Didn't she fancy Ju Tian? He took the initiative to attack. However, Absolute Heaven only wanted to make use of him, and did not have any other intentions. Now that Ju Tian knew that he had the upper hand, he caressed her waist with his right hand and said indifferently, Are you not going to say it? The numbness coming from his waist made Guan Yan's heart flutter, but he also felt that it was very exciting. There were so many people coming and going. Professor Ju, do you know about aristocratic families? Ju Tian was slightly stunned, and his right hand tightened. This time, Ju Tian was actually hugging Guan Yanxin. This was a sign of excitement. If he could sneak into one of the aristocratic families, wouldn't it be even easier to operate? Although Absolute Heaven's hypnosis technique appeared to be very powerful, it also had its flaws. If Guan Yanxin was hypnotized, her words and actions would be normal in the beginning. However, after a long period of time, her actions would slowly change, and it would be very easy for people close to her to notice. His honor had ordered us not to leave any evidence behind. Absolute Heaven, what are you doing? Guan Yanxin called out sweetly. She did not expect that Absolute Heaven would become so excited upon hearing that she was a member of an aristocratic family. However, this was also good. She could use her family's name to hook up with a handsome professor. Hugging Guan Yanxin's delicate body, Ju Tian felt like vomiting. He never thought that he would have to use the honey trap. Ju Tian, are you feeling unwell? Guan Yanxin liked men like Ju Tian. It was love at first sight. After Absolute Heaven regained his calm, he said, It's nothing, just a little nauseous. Then let's go buy some medicine. No need. Let's go in first. Ju Tian really wanted to see who would be going up on stage tonight to facilitate his future plans. As for the woman beside him, he would temporarily make use of her. The two of them took the elevator to the top floor. Miss Guan. The attendant beside the elevator shouted respectfully. As for Guan Yanxin, she didn't seem to care at all. She held onto Ju Tian's arm happily. Ju Tian swept his gaze across the crowd, and discovered that there were some family heads from Purple Gold City among them. Xiao Yi, Tang Wushuang, the Bai siblings Wang Debao, Chen Xuanzong, and that female student were all present. These people were all present. Not bad. Tonight's trip was worthwhile. The purpose of the Guan clan's banquet was the same as the Yi clan's. It was nothing more than to canvass for votes. Miss Guan. Miss Guan. Guan Yanxin held onto Ju Tian's arm and nodded with a smile. His words and actions had the demeanor of a great master. Ju Tian was currently considering Guan Yanxin's usefulness. Should he use this identity to enter the Guan family and make it easier for him to take action in the future? Brother, brother. Guan Yanxin called out to a man. Ju Tian looked over. This man's bearing was extraordinary, and he had an imposing appearance. He was actually her big brother. Yanqing, you're finally here. Father has been looking for you everywhere. Guanli walked over and smiled. Seeing his sister holding a man's hand, he frowned. Guan Yanqing smiled and introduced, "Brother, this is Zhu Tian, my boyfriend." "When did you have a boyfriend?" Guan Li's tone was filled with ill intent as he asked gravely. "Only you are allowed to have a girlfriend, but I'm not allowed to have a boyfriend? Brother, you can't play like this." Guan Yanqing thought that her brother was joking and teased. Guan Li pulled his sister to the side. "You clearly know that father is going to announce the marriage between you and Jiang family today. Yet you still brought a man here." "It's precisely because father is going to announce the marriage that I brought my boyfriend here." Guan Yanqing had an indifferent look on her face. "Do you want father's face to fall to the ground? You're too insensible. What does it have to do with me? In any case, I will choose my own man." Guan Li was angered to the point that his head hurt. I really don't know what to say. If you are thinking for your boyfriend's sake, then immediately break up with him. If not, he won't be able to see tomorrow's sun. Let's see who dares to touch him." Guan Yanqing wasn't someone to be trifled with. "What's wrong?" Zhu Tian walked over and asked faintly. Guan Li glanced at Absolute Heaven, then said to his little sister, "Do as you see fit." After saying that, he left. Absolute Heaven had a bad feeling about this. This was the best opportunity to infiltrate an aristocratic family. He could not let this woman escape for the time being. "My father is going to sell me." Guan Yanqing sighed in relief. At this time, the helplessness he felt was similar to Dongfeng Yuer. They were both used as bargaining chips. Hearing these words, Absolute Heaven's heart sank. Just a moment ago, he was still thinking of how to make use of her. Yet in the blink of an eye, it had all turned into bubbles. This caused Absolute Heaven's expression to sink. Seeing Zhu Tian's expression, Guan Yanqing thought that Zhu Tian was unhappy. "Are you angry?" Guan Yanqing asked curiously. Absolute Heaven frowned as he nodded his head. The plan he had been thinking about for a long time was suddenly ruined. How could he not be angry? "Do you dare to make a bet with me?" Guan Yanqing asked softly. At the end of the day, Guan Yanqing was also using Zhu Tian to get rid of her family's arranged marriage. She only chose someone she liked. In this aspect, it was more or less the same as Qinya. Hearing what Guan Yanqing said, Zhu Tian felt that he could only make a bet. It would naturally be good if he could successfully sneak into Guan family, but if he couldn't, it would bring him a lot of trouble. Furthermore, this Jiang family was also an aristocratic family. Messing up this arranged marriage might cause estrangement between the two of them. "What is the purpose of your family hosting this banquet?" The two leaned against the window. Zhu Tian naturally wanted to get some information out of Guan Yanqing. Guan Yanqing drank a glass of red wine, and with a blush on her face, she said quietly, "I will tell you, but you must not tell anyone else." "All right. It is for the longevity fruit," Guan Yanqing said secretly. Zhu Tian revealed a puzzled look. "Longevity fruit? You don't know, right?" In actuality, aristocratic families aren't the most powerful. There is still Voidless Realm above them. Voidless Realm will distribute the longevity fruit once every 100 years, and only the people from aristocratic families know about it. Those aristocratic families don't know about it at all. Don't tell anyone about it, otherwise it will be troublesome. Guan Yanqing, who was slightly drunk, said in an infatuated manner. She completely didn't know how important this matter was, as it was related to the fate of her entire family. Even Yi Hua didn't know about the longevity fruit, yet this time, Zhu Tian knew about it. This Guan Yanqing sure is a lucky star, to be willing to sell out her teammates like this. Seeing Zhu Tian's surprised look, Guan Yanqing said with a smile, "There are a lot of secrets in aristocratic families, and they are all things that cannot be revealed to others." "You are drunk." Zhu Tian was a bit excited. It was right to come here today. This woman knows a lot of things. However, I can't act too aggressively right now. If not, it will raise her suspicion. Should I just use hypnosis to get the information out of her? Chapter 352. I'm not drunk. I just want to be drunk. Guan Yanxin's tone seemed to be filled with helplessness. Being born into such an aristocratic family, it was indeed easy to gain power and influence, but at the same time, she had lost her personal freedom and had to consider the family's reputation with every word and action. She was even stopped from getting a boyfriend. In Guan Yanxin's words, she was already in her 20s, and she didn't even know what it was like to be a woman. She really wanted to find a man she liked, marry him, and then do whatever she wanted. At least for the first time in his life, he had chosen someone he liked. Right now Zhu Tian was a bit vexed. His body's reaction was telling him not to touch this woman, but the message that was being transmitted in his mind was his honor's order. In the end, his honor's command won over his thoughts. Zhu Tian gently embraced Guan Yanxin, and Guan Yanxin snuggled into Zhu Tian's embrace. No matter what this man's motive was, at least he was someone she liked. Now Absolute Heaven had encountered another problem. How could he make her listen to him willingly? Moreover, in a situation where he could not see through her motives, this was a little difficult. However, when Zhu Tian saw Dongfang Yu, he curiously asked, "Why is this student here?" Guan Yanxin turned around and said, "Similar to me, a girl who was sold by her family." "Oh, the person beside her is her husband?" Absolute Heaven asked curiously as he looked at Bai Qi. "That's not it. I heard that the two of them haven't slept together yet. Although this Dongfang Yu has a soft temper, she's still quite unyielding. I have to say that she has the shadow of the Dongfang family." Guan Yanxin chuckled. "The Dongfang family?" Absolute Heaven asked. Guan Yanxin nodded her head. "That's right, this Dongfang was originally an aristocratic family, but something happened and they were stripped of their title. Dongfang Yu is one of the younger generation of the Dongfang family. His luck today was simply off the charts. First it was the Guan family, now it's the Dongfang family. His honor can give the order to investigate the massacre of Dongfang family, and this Dongfang Yu is the breakthrough point. However, how can I break through this breakthrough point normally?" He needed to think about it carefully. After that, Guan Yanxin talked about a lot of family disputes. For example, the Xiao family and the Tang family weren't on good terms. Now that the Tang family had angered the Bai family, Chen Xuanzong had the intention to form an alliance with the Tang family. However, to Absolute Heaven this was good news. After all, Guan Yanxin knew a lot of things, and he had to use this woman for a long time in order to obtain more information. On the other side of the banquet, Chen Xuanzong could be said to be a dark horse in the Purple Gold City. In just a few days' time, he had obtained the acknowledgement of many family heads. Basically, his figure could be seen in all of the banquets. Chen Xuanzong decided to put his relationship with Qingya aside for now. After he ascended to the peak, he would look for Qingya and tell her that Long Outyan wasn't a good person. Long Outyan, who was far away in the mountains, looked up at the sky and sighed. "What the F***ck did I do wrong?" Holding on to a glass of red wine, Chen Xuanzong arrived in front of Tang Wushuang, Tang family head. "Patriarch Chen." Recently, Tang Wushuang's mood was exceptionally good, and this caused his hormones to be very active. If it wasn't for the beard on his face, the voice that he intentionally suppressed, and the bandage on his chest, Tang Wushuang would have already become a living beauty. Chen Xuanzong had also discovered that Tang Wushuang's voice sounded a bit intentional. "Recently, I caught a cold, and my throat is a bit uncomfortable," Tang Wushuang explained with a smile. However, with his current strength, how could he possibly catch a cold so easily? Chen Xuanzong said with a concerned smile. "Then Patriarch Tang, remember to rest well." "Thank you for your concern, Patriarch Chen. I will naturally take care of myself." Tang Wushuang's expression also began to change a bit, and this caused Chen Xuanzong to have goosebumps all over his body. "Patriarch Tang, when are we going to take action?" Chen Xuanzong had already paid a visit to Tang Wushuang a few days ago. After that, Chen Xuanzong and Tang Wushuang came to an agreement, and they were going to exterminate the Xiao family together. Tang Wushuang looked at Xiao Yi, who was far away, and said gravely, "After the aristocratic family selection is over, we will prepare to take action. Then I can be at ease." Chen Xuanzong patted on Tang Wushuang's shoulder. The latter went into a slight daze, and a girl-like shyness actually appeared on his forehead. This caused Chen Xuanzong to immediately stop. What's going on with this Tang Wushuang? Xiao Yi naturally discovered Tang Wushuang and Chen Xuanzong as well. The two of them having their arms around each other's shoulders definitely isn't a good thing. Looking at Bai Cixin, who was not far away, Xiao Yi revealed a kind smile and walked towards her. Patriarch Bai. Bai Cixin turned around slowly. Patriarch Xiao, it's been a long time. Patriarch Bai is still so beautiful. I'm so infatuated with you. Wang Debao, who was at the side, had a black face. You dare to flirt with my wife in front of me? Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have the Xianyuan sword. I can finish sucking a plate of snails without using my hands, but can you do it too? Bai Cixin smiled lightly and said, My husband is still beside me. Patriarch Xiao, please be careful with your words. Wang Debao snorted coldly and lightly hugged his wife. He seemed to be saying, You loser, hurry up and get lost. Director Wang, don't misunderstand. I came here today to form an alliance. Xiao Yi revealed his purpose. Right now, forming an alliance was the only way out, and it was also the best way. Bai Cixin said indifferently, Why should I agree with you? Because we have the same enemy, Tang family. Xiao Yi said coldly. A strange smile appeared on Bai Cixin's face as she said, Indeed. When Wang Debao heard that Xiao Yi didn't come to seduce his wife, but to form an alliance, he felt much more at ease. Furthermore, I, Wang Debao, have great martial arts, and my wife is already unable to free herself. Both Xiao and Bai family had ancient godly items. If they were to fight, they would have a huge advantage. In the Tangchen alliance, only Tang family had ancient godly items. Chen Xuanzong didn't, so they would be at a disadvantage. But don't forget about Tang Wushuang's teacher, Gui Chenren. This was equivalent to having a walking ancient godly item. At this moment, a round middle-aged man appeared at the scene. This was the patriarch of Guan family, Guantong. This person's height was less than 1.7 meters, but his body was very fat. Looking from afar, he looked like a walking rubber ball. But don't be blinded by his fat body. After all, he was the patriarch of one of the 5 great families. If he didn't have some skills, how could he sit in this position? Patriarch Guan. Patriarch Guan. Patriarch Guan. All the patriarchs greeted him passionately. Guantong was very happy too. But when he saw his daughter was actually nestling in a man's embrace, his fat face immediately darkened. If Jiang family's people saw this scene, what marriage was there to talk about? My father is here. Guan Yanxin immediately left Zhu Tian's embrace. It seemed like she was still a little afraid of her father. Zhu Tian asked softly, Do you still dare to gamble? Chapter 353. I dare. Zhu Tian nodded his head. You go first. Ah. Zhu Tian did not explain and directly blended into the crowd, causing Guan Yanxin to be dumbfounded. Yanxin, who was that man just now? Guantong walked over and questioned. Guan Yanxin said in a deep voice, My boyfriend. Do you know what day it is today? Do you have to choose this day to anger father? Guantong bellowed in anger. His daughter's actions were smearing the family's name. I have to decide my own marriage. Guan Yanxin was very firm. She was better than Dongfang Yu in this aspect. She would resist. However, this kind of resistance was useless. You still want to decide your own marriage? Where did your boyfriend go? Does he have the guts to stand out? Guan Yanxin looked around and realized that Zhu Tian had disappeared. Did he run away in fear? He even asked me if I dared to do it, but he actually dared to run away. So timid. I originally thought that he was a man, but I didn't expect him to be acting. Look, your boyfriend is only SOSO. He ran away the moment father came. It can be seen how despicable he is. Guantong naturally did not want his daughter to follow an ordinary person or an ordinary family, so a marriage with the Jiang family was the most important thing. Guan Yanxin sighed deeply. She had misjudged. She really regretted saying those words just now. All right, don't be sad. Jiang Zhua is also a good boy. You will know after you interact with him. Guan Yanxin was silent. She seemed to have given up. Guantong patted his daughter's shoulder. Yanqing, father knows your thoughts, but being born in the Guan family, there are many things that can't be helped. Father was the same back then. Father, I understand. Guan Yanqing said dejectedly. Her gaze was still searching the crowd, but she really did not see Zhu Tian. At this moment, Zhu Tian was contacting Wei Chang through the safe passage. Because there were some things that Zhu Tian did not know how to do, such as making a woman willingly help him. Zhu Tian, I have also thought about this question for a long time. Wei Chang's tone was filled with helplessness. Recently, Xiao Tang had returned to school and stayed in the dormitory at night. He had not seen her for a few days. This made Wei Chang very uneasy. This Xiao Tang could not be angry, right? Lil Tang was indeed very angry. I've already shared the same bed with you, but you haven't had any reaction all day. Is it because I'm not pretty enough? Obviously not, but Uncle Wei just didn't touch her. She was sad, thinking that Uncle Wei didn't like her at all. Zhu Tian asked curiously. Then what conclusion did you come to? I can tell. Women like to fool around and do some inexplicable things. When Wei Chang thought of the things that Tang Wei did every day, he became puzzled. Tang Wei was hinting at you crazily, yet you didn't react at all. Don't tell me you want a girl to directly expose you. Zhu Tian said faintly. Today I met two crucial women. However, I don't know how to make them die for me. I am unable to help you with this problem. Lai Gu seems to know a lot more. After all, only Lai Gu is able to maintain his relationship very well. Wei Chang thought about it and agreed with what His Honor said. His Honor's relationship problems are happening every single day. And I also have conflicts with Tang Bingyao. That little Green and Zishan still haven't slept together on the same bed. And only Lai Gu and his 3 wives are the most harmonious with each other. And of course there is also Death Mage and Sun Fang. These 2 couples were simply role models. Alright. Zhu Tian cut off his connection with Wei Chang and immediately contacted Lai Gu. Right now, Lai Gu was doing his best to fulfill his duties. He was still lying on the bed with a satisfied look on his face along with Bai Xiaojun, while Lai Gu was currently satisfying Wen Xia who was below him. Lai Gu, can I ask you something? Zhu Tian asked. Lai Gu said while gasping for breath. What is it? How do you make a woman do things for you willingly? Lai Gu said gravely. Is there even a need to think about it? Just do it with all your might. What for? Zhu Tian had a puzzled look on his face. What are you talking about? What else can I do? If you want a woman to be obedient, you have to make her obedient. This was Lai Gu's theory, and also the conclusion he came up with. Look at my 3 wives. I will do whatever I say. If they don't listen to me, I will do it until they listen to me. This has been tried and tested. In actuality, this set of dominoes theory was something that Yihua could imitate and directly make them lie on the ground. Why would I have the energy to blame you? Zhu Tian tightly wrinkled his brows. Will this work? You can just listen to me, but His Honor just doesn't listen to me. Your 2 wives are still causing all sorts of trouble. These words are rather reasonable. Zhu Tian said. Let me think about it then. Alright, you think about it yourself. I am still busy right now. After ending the call, Lai Gu seemed to have turned into a small electric motor, and the frequency of his massage increased, causing Wen Xia to moan endlessly. My massage technique is getting better and better. In the entire team, Lai Gu was the happiest. Of course, there were also Lai Gu's wives, who were enjoying their husband's treatment. Zhu Tian leaned on the staircase's handrail and let out a deep breath. Do I really have to sacrifice my body? I feel like I have suffered a loss. However, for His Honor's command, even if I have to sacrifice my body, I will not hesitate. Just that, how am I supposed to do it? Zhu Tian had no choice but to seek help from Baidu. Drugging, forcing alcohol, picking up corpses, and all sorts of strange methods. This caused Zhu Tian to shake his head. These methods are too despicable. Zhu Tian, disdained to use these despicable methods. Bang. The staircase's door could be seen being fiercely pushed open, and a man could be seen grabbing onto a woman's arm and pushing her against the wall. Zhu Tian took a look. It was actually his student, Dongfang Yu, and that person from Bai family. This is a bit interesting. Dongfang Yu, What is the meaning of this? Are you not giving me any face at all? Bai Qi's hand slammed onto the wall fiercely, causing Dongfang Yuer's ears to go numb. I am asking you a question. Seeing that Dongfang Yu remained silent, Bai Qi became furious. You don't allow me to touch you, but I am going to touch you today. After finished speaking, Bai Qi prepared to kiss Dongfang Yu. Dongfang Yu turned pale with fright as she used both of her hands to block. You said that you won't touch me. I am going to *CK you today. No one will be able to stop me. Dongfang Yuer's face became extremely pale and powerless. However, looking at Bai Qi's malevolent face, Dongfang Yuer didn't know where she got the strength to kick Bai Qi's crotch. Bai Qi was immediately stupefied. He raised his hand and gave Dongfang Yuer a slap, then held onto his crotch. Slut! I am going to beat you to death today. Dongfang Yuer directly fell onto the ground from the slap, but she didn't cry. She just felt that not being violated was better than anything else. Being beaten to death like this is also a form of release. Bai Qi relaxed and felt much better. Just as he was about to teach the woman on the ground a lesson, a voice rang out. Zhu Tian had been watching from the side for a long time. He felt that this was a good opportunity, a heaven-sent opportunity. He mustn't miss it. She is my student. If you dare touch her, I dare you. Zhu Tian slowly walked over, his tone ice cold. In order to obtain Dongfang Yuer's trust, Zhu Tian was willing to kill this Bai Qi. After all, this Bai Qi wouldn't be of much use in this matter, but as a corpse, he would be of some use. Bai Qi's face darkened as he looked at Zhu Tian. Who are you? Chapter 354. If not for the fact that Zhu Tian doesn't like women, Zhu Tian would definitely be an expert at picking up girls. Appearing at the most helpless time of a girl, his timing was very accurate. Furthermore, hugging and comforting the other party like this, the other party was even more touched. Just like Dongfang Yuan other than the senior sister that day, Dongfang Yuan was the second person that spoke up for me. No one else dared to offend the Bai family. You are my girlfriend's teacher, Bai Qi said confusedly. Zhu Tian lightly caressed Dongfang Yuan's beautiful hair, but in his heart, he wanted to directly kill her. Women. I hate women. However, for the sake of his honor's mission, Zhu Tian endured the impulse in his heart. Not only am I her teacher, I am also her man. This time, Bai Qi was startled. Even Dongfang Yuan was startled. I know that Professor Zhu is helping me, but he is someone from Bai family. Professor Zhu, don't say any more. What Dongfang Yuan meant was for Zhu Tian to not help her anymore, otherwise he would bring trouble upon himself. However, in Bai Qi's ears, it didn't sound like this at all. This Dongfang Yuan doesn't want me to say any more. So she already has a man, no wonder she doesn't want me to touch her. She is definitely afraid that I would find out that it wasn't her first time. I, the dignified young master of Bai family, was actually cuckolded. This is a humiliation. Today, I am going to kill the two of you. Bai Qi relied on his big sister's power, and did quite a lot of bad things. Adding on that no one dared to provoke him, this increased his arrogance even more. Especially during this period of time, his big sister is simply going to become the family head. As for me, I am also a young master of an aristocratic family. I don't put anyone in my eyes, let alone a person from a small family. Of course, Bai Qi still had some foundation, but he was only slightly stronger than ordinary people. Zhu Tian raised his hand and directly slapped Bai Qi onto the wall. Bai Qi held onto his cheek and looked at Zhu Tian in disbelief. You dare to slap me? Do you know who my big sister is? Do you know who I am? I only need to move a finger, and you too will die. Bai Qi's handsome face was especially terrifying. His family's power had grown so much that he had almost forgotten his surname. Dongfang Yuan left Zhu Tian's embrace and bowed to Zhu Tian. Professor Zhu, thank you for helping me, but please don't bother about this anymore, otherwise you will be in danger. What a good girl. She would rather put herself in danger than drag others down. However, Zhu Tian did not feel anything at all. In his mind, there was only his honor's command and the completion of his honor's command. Get out! Absolute heaven said gravely. Bai Qi was startled. He didn't see anything unusual. Let's go. But don't let me see you. Otherwise, I will beat you to death. After saying that, Bai Qi walked out. Just as Absolute Heaven had thought. The white flag would only be useful if it was turned into a corpse. As for Dongfang Yuer, this woman was still very useful. Are you all right? Absolute Heaven asked, concerned. Dongfang Yuer shook her head. Professor Zhu, it's better for you to quickly leave, otherwise Wu. Dongfang Yuan, Er's beautiful eyes widened as she stared in disbelief at this overbearing and cold man in front of her. He actually forcefully kissed her. Shouldn't I push him away? Why did his hands seem to have no strength? Zhu Tian almost vomited, but he endured it and kissed her. Dongfang Yuer was related to the destruction of the Dongfang family, and Guan Yanxin had a lot of news about the aristocratic families. These two girls must be won over. If it really doesn't work, then I'll learn from Lai Gu and directly do it. Although it was a bit disgusting, I will just treat it as being bitten by a little puppy. One must know that Zhu Tian's original form was a cat, and he was very misophobic, to the point that he didn't even want to touch women. After separating his lips, Zhu Tian looked at Dongfang Yuan. And said, "Don't worry, in the future no one will bully you other than me." Professor Zhu, we can't do this. Thank you for your good intentions. Dongfang Yuan. Er's face was completely red. What Zhu Tian brought her was a strong sense of security, and in this kind of dangerous situation, her heart felt warm. However, Zhu Tian wouldn't let Dongfang Yuan go. He pulled her back and pressed her against the wall. Dongfang Yuan, didn't dare to look straight at Zhu Tian's gaze and lowered her head. Do you still want to let him bully you? Zhu Tian asked coldly. This is my life. Dongfang Yuan said in a low voice. Zhu Tian lifted up Dongfang Yuan's chin and said faintly, "Right now you have the chance to change your life." Professor Zhu, I don't want you to be implicated. It must be said that Dongfang Yuan had a good impression of Zhu Tian, otherwise, she wouldn't have let Zhu Tian snatch away her first kiss. Of course, this was also Absolute Heaven's first kiss. However, it made Absolute Heaven feel nauseous. I like you. When Absolute Heaven said such words, he wished that he could give himself a slap. This was 2F** King disgusting. However, for the sake of his honor's command, they had no choice but to endure it. After all, after the mission was completed, they would no longer be needed anymore. Dongfang Yuan was stupefied. She looked at Zhu Tian, who was in front of her in a daze. Song Xiaoxiao was right. He was really handsome and gave her a sense of security. If she wasn't herself, she would definitely be his girlfriend. Professor Zhu, please behave yourself. After saying that, Dongfang Yuan trotted out with tears in her eyes. Zhu Tian was stupefied. There was actually a woman who could escape the might of his looks. Even that Guan Yanxin was mesmerized by her, but this Dongfang Yuer was actually unmoved. Interesting. But I like high difficulty. Tonight, Bai Qi had to die, and he had to die fair and square. Absolute Heaven took out a handkerchief and wiped his hands. He then walked out of the stairwell. At this moment, the banquet was reaching its climax. On the stage was the head of the Guan family, Guan Tong. He was giving his speech. Meanwhile, the people from Jiang family had arrived as well. The handsome little brother who was sitting beside Jiang Yuanzhou was Jiang Yuanzhou's youngest son, Jiang Jianhua. Jiang Jianhua looked a bit strange, he seemed a bit slow-witted. This didn't mean that he was sick, rather, Jiang Jianhua was afraid of strangers. It was very difficult for him to go out all year round. And now that he had reached the marriageable age, he found Guan family's youngest daughter. The two families could be said to be well matched in terms of social status, and no one was trying to curry favor with the other. In the future, if there was anything that happened, everyone could discuss it together. Guan Tong, who was on the stage, was finally going to get down to business. Actually, there is another joyous event today, and that is the marriage between my Guan family and Jiang family. Let's welcome the two newlyweds. Guan Tong took the lead and applauded. The beautiful Guan Yanxin was dignified and attractive. As the daughter of an aristocratic family, Guan Yanxin could be counted as a rather outstanding woman. On the other hand, Jiang Jianhua had his back arched, his expression was slightly nervous, and his gaze was erratic. It seemed like he didn't like this kind of occasion. This Jiang Jianhua is not worthy of her. Guan Yinxin had already given up long ago. This is fate. To marry a cowardly man. Chapter 355. Jiang Yuanzhou stood up, stroked his collar, and slowly walked onto the stage with a dignified air. Just the way he walked up to the stage won him the applause of the patriarchs. Alright, it was just flattery. Jiang Yuanzhou waved his hand, signaling everyone to be quiet. He then patted his son's shoulder. The latter immediately shrank back as if he was about to be beaten. Jiang Yuanzhou saw his son's performance and glared fiercely at him. Don't make a fool of yourself in front of so many people. However, Jiang Jianhua was even more afraid. Maybe it was because he was beaten by his father when he was young. Now, when his father stared at him, he immediately became terrified. Straighten your back. Jiang Yuanzhou slapped his son's waist. He was so shocked that he immediately stood up straight, as if he was about to receive some sort of commendation. His chin was lifted slightly. If Jiang Jianhua had a little more confidence, he would also be a talent. Unfortunately, he had been traumatized by his father when he was young, and had no confidence at all. It's my son's fortune to have such a good wife like Yin Xian. It's also a joyous occasion for the Jiang family. Of course, Guantong had to be polite as well. The fat on his face began to tremble. Brother Jiang is too polite. It is Yin Xian's fortune to be able to marry into the Jiang clan. Besides, Jianhua is a talented man with an imposing appearance. He is rare in this world. The compliments from the heads of the two aristocratic families really gave people goosebumps. Guan Yinxin, who was like a block of wood, looked as if she had lost her soul. Actually, everyone knew that this was because they had no choice but to join together for the sake of benefits. Say something. Jiang Yuanzhou said to his son in a low voice. After all, today was considered a public relationship, followed by an engagement, and then a marriage. As a man, of course, he had to express a few words. Jiang Jianhua looked at the large group of people in front of him, and revealed a timid expression, unable to spit out a single word. No one knew who took the lead to applaud, but everyone began to encourage Jiang Jianhua, as if they were kindergartners who needed encouragement from adults before they would speak. This caused Jiang Yuanzhou's expression to turn ugly. However, this move was indeed useful. I like her very much. Jiang Jianhua said while stuttering, expressing his feelings very well. Although it was difficult, he still said it. Jiang Yuanzhou was relieved. Guantong also felt relieved. It was a good thing for his daughter to marry him. After all, with his daughter's intelligence, at least she wouldn't be bullied. The audience applauded again. Yinxin, come and say something, Guantong said to her daughter. Guan Yinxin came back to her senses and asked curiously, "What are you guys talking about?" The corner of Guantong's mouth twitched. Jiang Yuanzhou's face immediately darkened. On the other hand, Jiang Jianhua was sullen. His goddess didn't hear him at all. Guantong smiled and reminded him in a low voice, "Just say that you like Jiang Jianhua." Guan Yinxin did not like him at all. She hated this kind of cowardly man the most. He had no manliness at all, and was even weaker than her. But what could he do? Speak. Guantong shouted in a low voice, but he still had a weak smile on his face. After the marriage between Guan and Jiang, there would be a new situation. Guan Yinxin also knew that she had no choice but to speak up. Taking a step forward, she raised her arrogant chin, only to see Zhu Tian walking back. He didn't leave. He was back. Guan Yinxin's obedient heart started to rebel again. She would rather die than marry such a man. If you want to hold hands, you can't use me in exchange. Seeing her daughter suddenly smile, Guantong had a bad feeling. Jiang Yuanzhou and Jiang Jianhua thought it was Guan Yinxin who smiled happily and felt very comfortable. I like him. Guan Yinxin said it very straightforwardly and boldly. Everyone couldn't help but admire this kind of woman. As a daughter of an aristocratic family, she dared to do this. Guantong knew it would be like this. Guan Yinxin's brother stood at the side and looked at Zhu Tian, who was walking over. The smile of the father and son of the Jiang family froze on their faces. That's right, Guan Yanxin pointed at Zhu Tian and shouted this sentence. She was a very courageous young lady. Zhu Tian also liked this result. Because of him, the relationship between the Guan and Jiang family had fallen to a freezing point. Now it needed to be added to the ice. Zhu Tian rubbed his eyes and put his left hand in his pocket. He stretched out his right hand and hooked his finger at Guan Yanxin. Everyone's heart sank. You don't put the two families in your eyes at all. You actually hooked your finger at the daughter of an aristocratic family. Besides, she was the daughter of an aristocratic family. Your action of beckoning her with your finger showed deep contempt, as if you were looking for a mistress. Although she said that she liked you, she would not come over. After all, the daughter of an aristocratic family had pride. However, everyone was disappointed. Guan Yanxin was like a canary that was released from its cage. With a happy smile, she ran towards Zhu Tian. In Guan Yanxin's eyes, Zhu Tian's hooking finger action was too domineering. She loved to conquer this kind of man, cold and domineering. Everyone watched as Guan Yanxin threw herself into the man's embrace. And that man actually directly kissed Guan Yanxin's cherry lips. The important thing was that his hands were actually pressing on her, but in grabbing it. Grabbing someone's, but in front of so many people. Those deep marks were already visible. Domineering. This was completely the rhythm of not wanting to see tomorrow's sun. Dongfang Yu, who was in the crowd, saw Zhu Tian kissing Guan Yanxin and slowly turned her head. At this moment, Guan Yanxin was completely intoxicated. She had completely forgotten where she was. Her first kiss was actually given in this kind of situation. Her little butt was already hurting from being grabbed by her teacher. How exciting! After a long kiss, Guan Yanxin nestled in Zhu Tian's embrace with a tender and beautiful blush. That look was as if she wouldn't marry anyone else. As for Zhu Tian, he almost vomited again. Later on, he really had to buy some anti-vomiting medicine. It would still be useful in the future. Father, look at her. She was kissed by another man. I don't like it anymore. Jiang Jianhua was rather straightforward. Seeing his goddess being kissed, he was very jealous and didn't want her anymore. Jiang Yuanzhou looked towards Guantong with a sunken face. Guantong, you have to give me a good explanation for this matter. After speaking, he prepared to leave with his son. Guantong hurriedly shouted. Brother Jiang, my daughter was muddled for a moment. Father, I am not muddled. Guan Yanxin said with a tender smile. She very domineeringly kissed Zhu Tian's lips. She felt that Zhu Tian's lips had a good texture, and even carried a fragrance. You. Guantong's mouth was almost crooked from anger. Seeing this, Jiang Yuanzhou coldly snorted. Guantong, this is the good daughter you taught. Making fun of my Jiang family. Brother Jiang, what do you mean by that? I, Guantong, did not do it on purpose. In actuality, Guantong was already lowering his status and begging Jiang Yuanzhou. However, in the end, Guantong was still a family head of an aristocratic family. In front of everyone, Zhu Tian was kissing Guan Yanxin, who was in his embrace with all his might, and his hands were even roaming around Guan Yanxin's lower abdomen. So painful to the eyes. If there is really no one around, are the two of you going to fight for real? Look at her. Did I say anything wrong? Jiang Yuanzhou pointed at Guan Yanxin, who was kissing passionately, and shouted out. In actuality, Guantong was very angry as well. My daughter is actually hugging and kissing a man in front of so many people. My face is about to be completely thrown away. Just as the two family heads were arguing with each other, a commotion suddenly came out from the crowd. You are a profligate son. This was Tang Wushuang's voice. I am not a profligate son. You are talking nonsense. Bai Qi had a wronged look on his face, as if he had received a huge blow. Right after he finished speaking, he immediately ran towards the balcony and leaped into the balcony under the gaze of everyone. The entire place was deathly silent, until a muffled sound rang out. Bai Qi. Chapter 356. Everything happened too quickly. It was so fast that no one expected someone to jump off the building. The person who jumped off the building was the young master of the Bai family, Bai Qi. Guan Yanxin was still unaware of what was going on. Her beautiful eyes were currently closed as she enjoyed Zhu Tian's kiss. Meanwhile, the corner of Zhu Tian's mouth was curled into a strange smile. During the Guan family's banquet, the Bai family's young master committed suicide by jumping off a building. The reason was that he was insulted by Tang family's Tang Wushuang. Originally, the two families were in the limelight, competitors of aristocratic families. Now that Bai Qi had been humiliated by Tang Wushuang to the point of committing suicide by jumping off a building, as the elder sister, it was impossible for Bai Cixin to let the Tang family off just like that. Right now, Tang Wushuang was also very stupefied. Just now, he had accidentally bumped into this little brat's head, and this fellow, relying on his status, actually dared to speak rudely to him. Originally, Tang Wushuang didn't want to fuss about it, but who knew that he would scold him a little more? Damn it, he actually jumped off the building. Is your heart made of tofu? With such a thing happening, the two clan heads naturally couldn't leave. They had to uphold justice. Bai Qi's corpse was quickly carried up. Although it was covered by a white cloth, the blood had already dyed the white cloth red. Jumping from such a high place, his death must have been very miserable. In the end, he was just a hedonistic son of a rich family. He didn't even know how to fly. Bai Cixin stared at her younger brother's corpse. It was only then that she did not realize that humans and ghosts were completely different. After his parents passed away, they told him to take good care of his younger brother. He didn't expect that he would break his promise. Bai Cixin didn't cry, but her pair of beautiful eyes were red and ice-cold as she stared fixedly at Tang Wushuang. Looking at his brother-in-law committing suicide, Wang Debao was worried for his wife. Zhu Tian hugged Guan Yanxin and stood at the side, watching. Guan Yanxin asked, Zhu Tian, why don't you think this child can understand? Youngsters are all impulsive. They can't stand being humiliated, so they act recklessly. Absolute Heaven said calmly. His words caused everyone to nod their heads. However, Bai Cixin did not agree. She stretched out her slender hand, and the 9 demons' punishing tower appeared in her hand. It emitted a ghostly mist, and the temperature of the scene dropped instantly. 9 demons' punishing tower. That's the legendary 9 demons' punishing tower. Heavens, this 9 demons' punishing pagoda is really amazing. Guantong shouted in a deep voice. Bai Cixin, what are you doing? Patriarch Guan, what do you think I'm going to do? I want to avenge my brother. Bai Cixin shouted coldly. Jiang Yuanzhou said indifferently, By family head, this is your younger brother's suicide and no one harmed him. Tang Wushuang was just too extreme with his words. Furthermore, your two families are currently in the midst of the election, and Voidless Realm forbids your two families from fighting each other. If not, you will lose the right to participate in the election. Jiang Yuanzhou reminded Bai Cixin that if she fought now, she might lose the chance to run for the position of an aristocratic family. Tang Wushuang didn't have any intention of apologizing at all. In fact, he even wanted to infuriate Bai Cixin into making a move on him. This way, he would be able to sit on the position of the aristocratic family head. By family head, your younger brother's mental quality is extremely poor. I, Tang, had only helped you to discipline him for a while, and now he's unable to think straight. My condolences. Tang Wushuang's words almost caused Bai Cixin to go berserk. Fortunately, Wang Debao stopped her and reminded her in a deep voice, Honey, calm down. If you make a move now, Bai Qi will have died for nothing. Bai Cixin stared fixedly at Tang Wushuang. Bai Cixin was also well aware of the consequences of him making a move on Tang Wushuang. Of course, he had to take revenge for Tang Wushuang, but not here. Don't tell me that Tang Wushuang isn't responsible for my younger brother's death. Bai Cixin questioned. Guantong and Jiang Yuanzhou glanced at each other. Actually, the death of a person wasn't a big deal, but the death was indeed from an aristocratic family, which was more troublesome. Although Tang Wushuang didn't do anything, he still insulted Bai Qi, and this caused Bai Qi to commit suicide by jumping off the building. If one were to say that Tang Wushuang wasn't at fault, it wouldn't make sense. Guantong said in a deep voice, Bai Cixin, I deeply sympathize with what happened to you, but the dead can't come back to life. My condolences. The meaning of these words was a little biased. Bai Ci had completely tricked him. This was bullying. Wang Debao was unconvinced and said angrily, "This Tang Wushuang clearly knows that the two families are in the midst of the election, and yet he still insulted the two families, causing my brother-in-law's younger brother to commit suicide by jumping off a building. This is already considered as harming the two families, and Voidless Realm has given strict orders to the two families to not have any casualties. Right now, my brother-in-law's younger brother died in vain. Are we just going to let it go like this?" Tang Wushuang explained. "Wang Debao, you're twisting words and forcing logic. I told him to jump off a building? Was I wrong to call him a playboy? Ask everyone, is this Baiqi a playboy or not? Little girl, I saw that you were bullied by Baiqi for a very long time tonight. Do you think that a man like him is a playboy or not?" Tang Wushuang asked Dongfang Yuan. In actuality, everyone had eyes, and this Baiqi was indeed this kind of person, and he treated this little girl extremely badly. How would Dongfang Yuan dare to comment on this matter? Upon seeing that, Tang Wushuang said, "Look, the little girl is scared to the point that she doesn't dare to speak. That's why what's wrong with me saying that he is a playboy? Did he break the law?" Tang Wushuang's explanation seemed to be a bit reasonable. Both sides had their own opinions, and it was hard for the two family heads to make a judgment as well. After all, they were both participating in the election. Guantong said faintly, "How about this? I will report this matter to the higher-ups and let Voidless Realm judge this matter. What do the two of you think?" Bai Cixin and Tang Wushuang didn't have any objections. Zhu Tian pondered silently. In the end, this matter has reached the ears of the two madams. Right now, let's see how the two madams are going to judge this matter. According to the madam's personality, they will definitely judge this matter as innocent. And Bai Cixin will definitely not accept it. Then what I have to do next is to think of a way to make the two madams give the wrong verdict. At this moment, all kinds of good ideas appeared in Zhu Tian's mind, and I will definitely make things difficult for the two madams. Bai Cixin kept her ancient godly item. In her eyes, it was Tang Wushuang who killed her little brother, and she will definitely take revenge for this. The banquet finally ended. Although it wasn't as great as Yi family's banquet, it was still an eye-opener. This bespectacled man will definitely become famous, and the prerequisite is that he will be able to live past tonight. Zhu Tian looked at Dongfang Yuan, who was all alone, and walked forward. Meanwhile, Guan Yanxin followed closely behind him. Right now, Guan Yanxin was very obedient. However, Guan Yanxin wasn't disgusted by Zhu Tian's behavior. Born in this family, if a man doesn't have a few wives, he will seem very low and weak. In any case, it's fine as long as I'm the first wife. Student Dongfang. Zhu Tian shouted. Dongfang Yuan, turned her head around and took a look, then immediately turned her head around and walked forward. This caused Zhu Tian to doubt his own appearance. In actuality, Dongfang Yuan didn't like to see Zhu Tian and Guan Yanxin together, and thus she didn't want to pay attention to them. However, Zhu Tian didn't want to let Dongfang Yuan off. He pulled Dongfang Yuan over and asked, "Are you all right?" "Professor Zhu, let go of me," Dongfang Yuan said sternly. However, that soft voice of hers didn't have a bit of persuasiveness at all, and there was even a hint of coquettishness to it. Zhu Tian looked at Dongfang Yuan and said, "In actuality, this is also pretty good, don't you think so?" Chapter 357. Extending his hand to hold Dongfang Yu's ice-cold little hand, Zhu Tian faintly said, "Dongfang Yu, teacher knows that your heart is not feeling well, but as a psychology and hypnosis professor, I will help you." Guan Yanxin, who was at the side, rolled her eyes. Only an innocent lady like Dongfang Yu would believe your nonsense. Of course, there was also him. He was really excited tonight. Dongfang Yuan didn't speak because she was in a very strange mood, excited and painful at the same time. The three of them sat in the Ferrari and left. Of course, Zhu Tian was carrying Dongfang Yuan. She was petite in the first place, so when he carried her, she felt even more soft. Of course, absolute heaven wouldn't be courteous. He gently caressed her. "Don't move around recklessly. This is a psychological counseling technique." What a despicable method of swindling people. Even Yihua disdained to do such a thing. If she said that she didn't like Zhu Tian, Dongfang Yuer would definitely not let him touch her. The incident that had just happened at the staircase was still vivid in her mind. Professor Zhu was a good person. He had saved her and protected her. Such a favor must be repaid. After all, the professor was the second person in the world who had helped him. As far as he could remember, his parents had never been together. His mother rarely came home. Sometimes, she would come home once a month, sometimes once a year. Even his father had lost his memory. This time, his mother had sold herself out. Towards Absolute Heaven's assistance, Dongfang Yuan was sincerely grateful. Hence, no matter what Absolute Heaven did, Dongfang Yuan would not resist. Hey, are you guys okay? Guan Yanxin was jealous. After all, she was the main wife. She had to be fair. Zhu Tian slowly lifted Guan Yanxin's chin. It'll be your turn soon. After arriving at Absolute Heaven's dormitory, Absolute Heaven had no intention of letting them off tonight. Just like what Lai Gu had said. Only by letting them feel comfortable would I be able to obtain more information. For the sake of information, I, Absolute Heaven, throw caution to the wind. For Absolute Heaven, a small room with one bedroom and one living room was more than enough. Opening the fridge, Absolute Heaven took out a strange bottle of wine. This was not wine but winged saliva. This wasn't a very powerful divine beast. It couldn't even reach the level of a spiritual beast, but it was extremely rare, because the saliva that dripped out had a mysterious fragrance. Absolute Heaven had once offered this kind of winged saliva to Yihua, but Yihua didn't think much of it. Just like how cats loved the smell of blood, Absolute Heaven was also a cat. However, the concentration of the winged saliva was close to that of alcohol. It was even very high, but it did not have the smell of alcohol. Professor, could it be that he drugged it? Guan Yanxin said sweetly, her beautiful eyes sparkling. Even if it was drugged, he would still drink it. Dongfang Yuer's beautiful eyes were filled with determination. Anyway, she had to repay this debt of gratitude. Fortunately, it was tonight. Without waiting for Guan Yanxin to drink, Dongfang Yuan raised her head and drank. The taste is not bad. It tastes like Lihaha's calcium milk. Sour and sweet. Why are you even more impatient than me? Guan Yanxin also drank it. However, after waiting for a long time, he didn't faint or get drunk. Zhu Tian poured another cup for the two of them. If you have any troubles, just tell teacher. Teacher will be your strong support. This winged saliva could even destroy the weakest part of a person's heart, causing them to develop trust. For example, when Absolute Heaven used his strong backing to break through Dongfang Yuer's defenses, it caused her to cry. Don't keep it in your heart. Zhu Tian patted Dongfang Yuer's back and consoled her. To Dongfang Yuer, she had too many burdens on her shoulders. Her mother was not at home, and she could only follow her grandmother. But her grandmother told her many things, and before she died, she even told her, the Dongfang family was wrongly accused, and you must clear Dongfang family's name. Professor, my Dongfang family was wrongly accused. Dongfang Yuer could not hold it in anymore and shouted. Zhu Tian's lips curled up. As expected. Then who is the one who wrongly accused the Dongfang family? Zhu Tian continued to ask. The current 5 great families. Dongfang Yuer choked with sobs. She was so weak, and how could she win against those people? Zhu Tian was very excited to get this information. 100 years ago, the 5 great families wrongly accused Dongfang family, causing all the males in the family to be killed. If this matter was exposed, it would be a huge blow to Dongfang family's wife. Yanxin, don't you have anything to say? Zhu Tian asked curiously. Guan Yanxin smiled. I have seen too many of the scandals of the aristocratic families. I don't want to say anything, and I don't want to get involved. Indeed, you don't need to get involved, you just need to say it to yourself. Don't worry, teacher will help you. Zhu Tian said softly. His words were filled with incomparable confidence, causing Dongfang Yuer to believe him. Guan Yanxin also raised her hand and smiled. I will help you too. Zhu Tian was very puzzled. Guan Yanxin smiled and explained. Ever since father took over my grandfather's position, he changed. I don't want father to continue changing. If possible, I wish to live in a small family. Zhu Tian nodded his head. This kind of exchange is not excessive. Take it as your reward for helping me. Don't worry, I will help you realize your wishes. The two girls smiled faintly, but their smiles were filled with bitterness. Gradually, Dongfang Yu and Guan Yanxin laid on the table drunk. Zhu Tian was a little irritated. Chapter 358. Absolute Heaven was very depressed. It was clearly you guys who were shouting that you couldn't do it anymore. Yet now, you are still thinking of doing it yourself. How could this be? Professor Zhu, Teacher Zhu, come quickly. I don't even know what it feels like. Guan Yanxin was indignant. This was the most important moment in her life, and it was gone just like that. She didn't even get to taste the sweetness. Vexation could be seen between Zhu Tian's brows. However, he was also worried that Guan Yanxin would not listen to his words. According to what Lai Gu said, I have to *CK her until she is completely obedient. Thinking up to this point, Absolute Heaven felt slightly nauseous. Fortunately, he had not eaten anything yet. Zhu Tian stood up. Guan Yanxin's beautiful eyes lit up. Professor Zhu's strength was very strong. Dongfang Yuan Air, who was at the side, turned her head. She had already repaid him, and it could be said that she had fulfilled one of her wishes. Enduring the slight pain, Dongfang Yu stood up. However, she was pressed back onto the bed by Absolute Heaven, who had walked over. Standing by the side, Guan Yanxin gulped down a mouthful of saliva. She did not know why, but when she saw Zhu Tian pressing down on Dongfang Yu, she felt an indescribable sense of stimulation and excitement. Where are you planning to go? Zhu Tian asked coldly. Dongfang Yuan didn't dare to look at Zhu Tian's eyes and weakly said, I'm going to class. Today I'll give you a good lesson. You're not allowed to go anywhere. Absolute Heaven said in a deep voice. Today he would make the two of them obedient. As he spoke, he cupped his fists. Dongfang Yuan's charming face was filled with shock. She felt as though her body was about to break apart. Her slender palm pressed on Zhu Tian's chest. Very soon, Dongfang Yuan let out an alluring moan. 2 minutes later, Zhu Tian, I can't take it anymore. Dongfang Yuan's stamina was unable to keep up with the tempo. Absolute Heaven was too ferocious, and Dongfang Yuan's delicate body was simply unable to endure Absolute Heaven's torment. Zhu Tian asked coldly, will you be obedient in the future? I'll listen to you. Dongfang Yuan felt like she was about to faint. Hearing Dongfang Yuan's reply, Absolute Heaven felt relieved. Guan Yanxin, who was at the side, couldn't wait any longer. It was too exciting. Zhu Tian, come and get me. 10 minutes later. I don't want it anymore. I surrender. Under Absolute Heaven's indiscriminate bombardment, Guan Yanxin persisted for 10 minutes before finally fainting. However, Absolute Heaven did not feel anything at all. Standing up, he glanced at the two people on the bed before disappearing from the room. Because I have important information to report to His Honor. Today Yihua woke up very early, and Qing Yutong also changed a little today. Qing Yutong actually woke up very early to prepare breakfast for her brother-in-law. Did Yihua still not know what Qing Yutong meant? She wanted him to let her sister off lightly? How could that be possible? Brother-in-law, is this porridge hot? Yutong will help you blow it. Brother-in-law, is the temperature of this milk okay? Do you need Yutong to help you heat it up? It's still human body heating, so that you can understand it. Yihua, who was looking at Conan, turned his head around and asked, Yutong, are you that free? It's everyone's responsibility to serve their brother-in-law, then give birth to brother-in-law's children. Brother-in-law, you are so hateful, always thinking of doing bad things. Qing Yutong said while pinching her orchid-shaped fingers. Yihua said faintly, then scram. Bad brother-in-law, it has already been one night. Your anger should have more or less dissipated by now, right? Let's go and fetch big sister back together. Qing Yutong had done so much foreshadowing. Wasn't it all for the sake of them reconciling? Yihua drank a mouthful of warm milk, not going. Brother-in-law, could it be that you don't miss Ali? Ali should also practice living independently. What's wrong with brother-in-law? In the past, when big sister gets angry, although he would also look angry on the surface, in his heart, he would always think of how to coax her. Look at this time, he completely doesn't have the intention of coaxing her at all. It has already been one day. Are they playing for real? Brother-in-law, Qin Yutong once again walked forward coquettishly and hugged onto Yihua's arm. Scram. All right. Looking at his sister-in-law leaving, Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. These two ignorant women. I gave them an entire night's time, and yet they still haven't returned. From the looks of it, they are determined to go against me. Not bad. Your guts have grown big. To dare to unscrupulously anger me just because you think that you are the woman that I love dearly. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Zhu Tian's figure suddenly appeared beside Yihua, then knelt down on one knee and paid respect to Yihua. Get up, is there any progress? Yihua drank another mouthful of milk. Sister-in-law's milk is not bad, it has quite a nice texture. Zhu Tian stood up and said respectfully, after subordinate sacrificed my physical body, I received a huge reward. Pooh. Hearing Zhu Tian's report, Yihua spurted out the milk. Sacrificed your physical body. Received a reward? Tell me, how did you sacrifice your physical body? Zhu Tian did not feel embarrassed at all. He told Yihua about the entire process, and he even sold out Lai Gu. It was clear that Zhu Tian wanted Lai Gu to be the scapegoat. However, after Yihua heard what Zhu Tian said, he was thinking about another question. Could it be that I didn't *CK them until they were completely submissive? Thinking about it, Donghuang Baiji made a move on me 3 years ago, while Qingye made a move on me only a few months ago. After tasting that wonderful feeling, they definitely wanted me to pamper them again, but in the end I actually didn't do it. Thus they became angry. This theory of Lai Gu's is not bad. He grasped the main point. It is precisely because they are too energetic, and also because they have a grudge against me, that's why they came up with this plan. But even so, do you think that I am that kind of person? You two can do whatever you want. It is your honor for me to pamper you too. To actually quarrel with me over this kind of thing. After I teach you two a lesson, I will make you two unable to get off the bed. Let's see if you two still have the energy to quarrel with me. Oh right. How do you plan to deal with those two women? Yihua asked curiously. Could it be that this iron tree has blossomed? To actually force them to drink wine. I have never been so shameless before. Zhu Tian slightly lowered his head to show respect, then said, after this, I will fulfill their wishes. After that? Yihua continued asking. Zhu Tian wrinkled his brows. That's all. Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, Zhu Tian, I will have to criticize you for this. Zhu Tian's expression tensed up, then immediately knelt down in front of Yihua, accepting the Supreme Overlord's criticism. Subordinate knows his mistake. Your honor, please forgive me. Wait for me to finish speaking first. Yes. Zhu Tian continued to lean over and listen to Zhu Tian's words. Yihua didn't have any intention to wake Zhu Tian up and said faintly, men should be responsible for what they should be responsible for. Although what you did can be considered as a play, you took away the other party's first blood, and furthermore, the first blood was taken away by you while you were deceiving them. It can be seen just how sad they will be when the time comes. But your honor, Zhu Tian really doesn't like women, he isn't targeting them. Zhu Tian hurriedly explained. Yihua's expression turned cold. Did I allow you to speak? Your honor, please forgive me. Chapter 359. Zhu Tian. Your honor, if you were honest, your wife wouldn't have left home. Just thinking about it was enough. Saying it out loud was a crime punishable by death. Thank you for your guidance, your honor. Get up. Thank you, your honor. Yihua flicked away that half a stick of cigarette ash and continued. In this aspect, you have to learn from Lai Gu and Wei Chang. Since you have already slept with them, in the future, I will stay by your side and properly serve you. I will be at ease. Just a moment ago, Absolute Heaven was still regretting. He regretted that he had impulsively taken those two women yesterday night, and he was even prepared to go and fight with Lai Gu. However, after hearing what his honor had said just now, Zhu Tian was so moved that he prostrated himself in admiration. So it turns out that his honor cares so much about me. And because his honor was afraid that I wouldn't have anyone to serve me, his honor found a woman for me. The sun and moon can bear witness to his honor's intentions. I, Zhu Tian, am terrified. Zhu Tian could be seen bowing respectfully to Yi Zichen, then saying gravely, "Thank you, Your Honor, for showing concern to your subordinate. Zhu Tian, you two have followed me through fire and water for so many years. It is time for you two to enjoy life. The gentleness of human women is indeed pleasurable, but sometimes I really want to beat them to death." Originally, he was quite happy about it. However, when he thought of Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's actions yesterday, he became angry. Zhu Tian said in a low voice, "The wife chosen by his honor is definitely a phoenix among men. It is normal for her to have a bit of a temper. All right, stop putting in good words for them. Is there any progress? Reporting to your honor, it is a breakthrough." Yi Hua's eyes lit up. "The sooner I can slap their faces, the better it will be. After all, the earlier they will be able to come back to me, the earlier I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to be living by myself, empty, lonely and cold. Tell me." "Yes." Following which, Absolute Heaven recounted everything that had happened last night, as well as some of his own thoughts. After hearing that, Yi Hua took a deep breath. Well done. Hearing his honor's praise, Zhu Tian felt that he had succeeded in selling himself. "I hope your honor can give me some pointers." Zhu Tian was still very smart. "All of the credit belongs to his honor, and I was only following his honor's instructions." Yi Hua was also very satisfied with Zhu Tian's attitude. "Zhu Tian, what you mean is that we should spread the news about the longevity fruit to the north, thereby arousing the greed of the people in the north, and from there, we will be putting pressure on Voidless Realm?" "That's right." Yi Hua laughed lightly, and a trace of coldness could be seen in his gaze. "Have you forgotten about their status in the south?" Absolute Heaven frowned. Right now, the powers in the south are treating the two of them as female deities. If the news about the longevity fruit had started from the south, I reckon that these people wouldn't be calling them female deities, and instead, they would be shouting that everyone is equal. After finished speaking, Yi Hua laughed lightly. "The person you saved back then came back to cheat you. That must feel pretty good, right? In the end, you will understand a principle, only I treat you the best in this world. Your honor is wise, subordinate is truly too slow-witted." Zhu Tian praised. Yi Hua said faintly, "If the distribution of the longevity fruit is not handled properly, Voidless Realm, hee. Yi Hua had seen too many treasure-snatching battles. Regardless of whether it was an ally, a boss or a brother, whoever that was in the way would be killed. Not to mention something that could extend one's lifespan. Luckily, Donghuang Baiji didn't tell me about this. If not, she would definitely suspect that I was the one who leaked this information. Not bad. But when I think about it, isn't he a little too distrustful of me? It's such a big matter, yet he didn't even tell me about it. In the future, I will definitely not spank you. Instead, I will make you beg for mercy. However, I will not forgive you." Upon thinking about how Qingye and Donghuang Baiji would be begging for mercy, Yi Hua couldn't help but feel pleased. Yi Hua continued, "We must definitely find evidence to prove the injustice done to Dongfang family. We must do whatever it takes, but we must not be found out. I am really curious how they will judge this case. Also, think of a way to make those families fight against each other." Zhu Tian said solemnly, "Your honor, do you want subordinate to make some arrangements for Xiao family?" "You can make arrangements, don't let them be too idle." "Yes." After finished talking with Yi Hua, Zhu Tian returned to the dormitory. Looking at the two young girls who were lying on the bed, Zhu Tian felt that he should rest for a bit first, and think about how to set up a trap for Xiao Yi. As for spreading the news in the south, his honor will make the arrangements. Yi Hua, who was sitting on the sofa, contacted Wei Chong. Right now, Wei Chang was currently waiting for Tang Wei in the university, and Wei Chang was currently holding onto a bouquet of flowers. This old man still knows how to be romantic. However, upon hearing his honor's message, Wei Chang immediately disappeared from the campus. Coincidentally, Tang Wei rushed over at this moment and discovered that Uncle Wei wasn't around at all. To think that Uncle Wei said that he was going to give me a surprise. Your Honor, go and having family know, send someone to spread a piece of news. Make sure that those families are the first to know about it. Wei Chang didn't like to ask too many questions. I only need to do as His Honor says. Yes. Yihua let out a breath. Right now the chess pieces are already in place. Little Qingye and Baiji. How can the two of you be my opponent? Hurry up and come back and apologize to me. After that, promise me what you did to me unconditionally. Perhaps I will let bygones be bygones. When Wei Chang returned to the university, he looked around. Why isn't Xiao Tang here yet? Right now, at Voidless Realm, Donghuang Baiji had just finished holding a court meeting. After returning to Donghuang Li's courtyard, Qingye and Ali were temporarily staying together. Qingye was currently playing with Donghuang Li, and seeing that her mother had returned, Donghuang Li pounced onto her mother's embrace excitedly. Mommy, are we going back now? Ali didn't even kiss Daddy this morning. Donghuang Baiji laughed tenderly. Ali, Daddy has been very busy recently. Didn't you see that Aunt Qingye and I have returned? Ali isn't a child anymore. You two just made Daddy angry. After saying that, Ali pouted her little mouth and put on a look of you two are bad guys. The two women had a helpless look on their faces. This Ali is too biased. She is always on her father's side. Donghuang Baiji could only coax her daughter. Ali, be good. Play in Voidless Realm for a few days. After that, Mommy will bring you back to look for Daddy. Really? Donghuang Li asked while blinking her big eyes. And really? True, that's great. Don't look at how little Donghuang Li is. In actuality, she knows a lot of things. Taking advantage of the fact that she is a child, Donghuang Baiji made use of the fact that her daddy and mommy will not continue to quarrel with each other. After letting the maid bring her daughter to play, Donghuang Baiji sat at the opposite of Qingye and let out a sigh. Soon after, Donghuang Baiji poured a cup of tea. What's the matter? Why are you frowning? Qingye asked curiously. This Voidless Realm is a good place. It would be great if Yihua could come over and stay here for a long time. During the court meeting today, Yu Chuan reported a matter. Just last night, Bai family's young master was insulted by Tang family's family head. And in the end, Bai family's family head committed suicide by jumping off a building. Bai family's Bai Cixin requested for Bai family's family head to give him an explanation. However, since both families are candidates for the position of Bai family's family head cannot act recklessly. Donghuang Baiji felt a headache. I told them not to fight, and now someone even died. Chapter 360. Tang Wushuang also didn't instigate Bai Qi to jump off the building. Hearing Donghuang Baiji's words, Qingye asked confusedly, Baiji, do you think that Yihua is adding fuel to the fire? After I heard it, I also thought the same way. Therefore, I asked about the situation at that time in detail. There wasn't anything abnormal. Tang Wushuang and Bai Qi had a physical conflict and started to scold each other. In the end, it became a tragedy. Qingye silently nodded her head. If this was really done by Yihua, how could there be so many details? That clumsy fool only knows how to touch all day long. However, Bai Qi suddenly jumped off the building for no reason. So the two women were a little suspicious. It had to be said that Absolute Heaven had handled the details very well, making it so that others would not be able to see the truth of the matter, making it seem as if it was real. Qingye asked, what do you plan to do? After all, you ordered them not to make a move. Now that someone has died, it seems to go against your words. This was what Donghuang Baiji was puzzled about. If I don't pursue this matter, wouldn't I be slapping my own face? If he were to pursue the matter, what reason would he use to pursue it? Just because you scolded someone, that person's heart became weak and couldn't take it anymore and committed suicide. Yet you want to pay with your life? This is too absurd. I have never encountered such a thing before. Qinya, what do you think I should do? Right now, Donghuang Baiji really wanted to sleep on the bed and be hugged by Yi Hua. Now he had only been out for a day, and something very troublesome had already happened. It was hard for Qinya to say who was at fault, but she did put forward an interesting point of view. Baiji, if this matter was arranged by Yehua, what is his intention? Qinya said with a smile. Donghuang Baiji took a sip of tea. Those moist lips were Yi Hua's favorite. If Yi Hua is really the mastermind behind all of this, then his goal should be right now. The two women looked at each other and smiled. With Yi Hua's personality, it is indeed possible. However, in the end it is just a hypothesis, and there is no evidence to prove it. Right now Qinya also missed Yi Hua. If Yi Hua was here, he would definitely have a lot of crooked reasoning. Although his reasoning was a bit crooked, it seemed to be effective. Could it be that she had wronged him? But you can't yell at me like that. No matter what, I'm your wife. What's wrong with saying a few nice words? Women don't need to be coaxed. On the contrary, Yi Hua never knows how to coax a woman. The two women discussed for a long time, and finally came to a conclusion. Tang Wushuang gave a warning, and consoled by family by giving them a bottle of bejeweled jade immortal dew as an excuse. Very quickly, the two families received the same result. Tang Wushuang was very unhappy with the warning punishment. What does that brat jumping off the building have anything to do with me? To actually give me a warning punishment, will I be punished or not? Wenbai Cixin, who was wearing a white cloth on her head, received Voidless Realm's result, and a bottle of bejeweled jade immortal nectar. There was not a single ripple on her face. She twisted open the bottle cap and sprinkled the bejeweled jade immortal dew in front of her little brother's memorial tablet. Clearly, she was not satisfied with this punishment, and even more so, she was dissatisfied with Voidless Realm. The murderer was actually only given a warning. Meanwhile, Yi Hua also stopped his wife's punishment and sneered. You are truly soft-hearted. The more benevolent you are, the more others will think that you are easy to bully. As a big power, Voidless Realm had to display their iron-blooded side. You have too much to learn. However, this kind of punishment was within Yi Hua's expectations. It isn't your fault to be kind. The fault is to be kind to bad people. At this moment, Absolute Heaven was in the middle of a lecture, and he was being assaulted by the gazes of the female fans. However, he still had to retain his identity as a university professor. On the way back to the dormitory, Yi Hua bought some food. After all, there were still two women upstairs. Originally, Yi Hua wanted to let the two women fend for themselves after the mission ended, but since his honor had already spoken, he decided to let the two women stay by his side and serve him. However, looking at the lunchbox that was in his hand, Absolute Heaven felt that it wasn't the two women who were serving him. Absolute Heaven still didn't understand what his honor meant. The serving that Yi Hua said was not the serving that Absolute Heaven was thinking of. As a boss, Yi Hua naturally had to share his happiness with his subordinates. However, Absolute Heaven, who was like a cat, didn't feel the slightest bit of happiness, and instead, he felt that his chest was stuffy. Opening the door of the dormitory, Yi Hua saw the two women wearing his shirt, and sitting at the table eating instant noodles. A young lady wearing a man's shirt has a different flavor, especially when there is nothing inside the shirt. If it was Lai Gu who was here, there was no need to say anything. Lai Gu would definitely speak with his strength. However, Absolute Heaven shifted his gaze away after taking a glance at the two women. I bought some rice for you too. Absolute Heaven placed the casserole rice on the table and said faintly. Guan Yanxin took a glance, then teased. Professor Absolute Heaven, you made our little sister suffer so much that she wants to die, and you want to send her away just like that? Dongfang Yuer's face immediately turned red. How could that be? Professor, don't listen to her nonsense. Then do it again with Professor Ju. No. Dongfang Yuan rejected as expected. However, Absolute Heaven was unhappy.